Welcome to the BJJ Executive Podcast, Episode 4. I'm your host, Dave Kroll. And if this is your first time on the journey, or if you've been with us for a while, a very warm, humble, and heartfelt thank you for being a part of this. I hope that this is a supplement to the longevity in your jiu-jitsu journey, and wherever you're at on the time spectrum, I hope you get something valuable out of it. And once again this week, preparation was revealing. And just getting ready for the conversation that we're about to have, it took me all the way back to some lessons that I learned in business a long time ago, specifically about hiring. And it wasn't originally about hiring. It kind of took a circuitous path. But if you've ever been involved in the hiring decisions of an organization, you'll have seen that people tend to focus, mostly because job descriptions tend to focus on years of experience. And so you might look at a job description and you see that you're asking for like a regional sales manager or a product line manager or whatnot that's got 3 years of experience as a regional sales manager or 5 years of experience as a product line manager. And so as a result of that, candidates have kind of responded, and you'll get people that'll send you resumes, and instead of talking about a campaign that they ran in a specific region or other successes that they've got or numbers that they've put up on the board, they'll end up describing themselves as a regional sales manager with 3+ years of experience, which is exactly what you asked for. And so as part of having to filter through that, and by the way, that metric really doesn't mean anything. And as part of filtering through that, I've kind of realized that you don't really have 3 years of experience. You've actually got 1 year of experience 3 different times. Or maybe you don't have 5 years of experience. You've got 2 years of experience 2.5 times, or whatever the compartment you want to put it in. And when you really start poking at that a little bit, you realize that this same little algorithm can be applied to multiple elements of life. And it can also be applied to relationships. And relationships can be in any shape or form. It could be people that you know at your church. It could be people that you know at your school. And it could even be applied in jiu-jitsu. And in jiu-jitsu, it's even more magnified. Because in jiu-jitsu, your interactions are really only an inch deep. And we come into the gym, and so often we shake hands, we have some little colloquial exchanges, and then we get right into it. And a lot of times you do have really good, meaningful relationships with people. You get to know people outside of the gym, but a lot of the relationships you build up really are only based on small little exchanges. And so somebody might say, hey, I've known Dave for the last year. And the reality is you haven't known me for a year, really. You've known me for a week 52 different times, or 2 weeks 20 times, or whatever the case may be. And so it's important to realize that. And once you realize that, you can understand what the limitation is. And what ends up happening is I've made that mistake myself. And as I've gone through and prepared for this podcast, I started to realize that once again, I've kind of fallen victim to this little filter. And I made a surface level judgment of a person that I really only knew from small little interactions. And the reason it's important to recognize that is because once you recognize that and you could dig into those next second and third levels, you can then start to apply some of the lessons that they've learned and the struggles that they've had and apply them to your own life. Or even better, you can use them to help others. And that's the whole point of this podcast. And so when I was getting ready for this current guest, I've got a person who on the surface is as successful as you could ask to be. He's got a beautiful family. He's got a successful career. He was a collegiate athlete, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And as I started getting into what made him all of those things, I saw some of the struggles that he's had to encounter and had to endure. And of course, we're going to dig into those today. And I realized I have completely misjudged that path. And there's a lot of shared struggles there. And there's a lot of things that we can learn from it. And so this week we've got a Division I collegiate wrestler from Xavier University out of Pennsylvania,
Drexel
University out of Pennsylvania, the powerhouse. I had originally had that.
That's so good.
A Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt where he was promoted on the podium after one of the most prestigious tournaments that we've got by his professor, then 4th degree, now 5th degree black belt, Rafael Formiga, a successful entrepreneur, a husband, and a father, Anthony Cronce. Anthony, what's going on, my man?
It depends on the day.
Well, at least you know where you went to college.
Today's a good day.
That's awesome,
good day,
man. So we did something a little bit different this week. So far, the tendency has been to do the podcast and then train. And today we trained and then we did the podcast. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like it. My head's a little clearer.
Oh, so nice. I was thinking about that. Like we've been talking about how busy I've been. It's hard to, sometimes frame out training for myself. So it's good to just like get in there for like an hour and a half. And like, I didn't even know what time it was. I looked up and I've been sparring for an hour and a half, just letting it rip.
That's the beauty of it. We had a ton of people on the mat today.
That was great. I got to train with Joao. You know what I mean?
That's awesome, man. You guys don't get that.
We don't get to train very often. We see each other in gis literally like every day now. And we literally like just drill with each other, like showing the kids stuff. And then
that's crazy. Man, I got axe kicked by a wrestling shoe. So I can only imagine whose it was. But just trying to keep people separated and whatnot. It's cool, man. Even on the break, we've got, I don't know how many people were there, probably 25.
I don't know.
Something like that.
Pretty good. Whatever it was, is a pretty good open mat for a holiday week.
For a New Year's. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Did you guys stay in town?
Yeah, we just stayed in town. I had my brother and my mom in for a couple of days, for pretty much the week. But I feel bad. Like it's really hard. You know what I mean? It's a blessing, but it's like got the gym going.
I know, man.
We just got the fitness classes going. You know what I mean? Trying to get my own training in.
Crazy, man.
Christmas, it's like, but.
And you're getting up with us in the morning. Like we were talking about it a little bit earlier. We're going to get a little morning training in. That'll be my first trip out to Cronce. I've never made it through Scenic Cronce. Is anything open at 6:30 in the morning?
Almost everything.
Other than Eclipse?
Yeah, everybody's awake. Everybody's usually going to work super early. It's pretty blue collar. You know what I mean? A lot of Peterbilt, employees and stuff like that.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. Is that what's out there? Is a Peterbilt factory or something? Or?
In Denton, Southwest Denton, there's a Peterbilt factory. There's some other manufacturing. That's like what my wife does. But yeah, it's funny because actually we were talking a little bit about like, where I came from, coming up from New Jersey and stuff like that. And it's funny because like everybody thinks everything's the Jersey Shore there, but I'm actually from like middle of nowhere, New Jersey.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like
dude.
the part of New Jersey the Garden State. Like,
dude.
I'm from the Garden part of the Garden State.
Well, wait till you hear all of the hasty generalizations and stereotypes I have to apply. That's crazy.
No, so it's I grew up on a couple hundred acres out in like in Phillipsburg, New Jersey.
That makes a lot more sense now because I remember I didn't know where you lived around here, and one day we were talking, and I think you had your kid in, you were running one of the open mats or something like that. We got to talking about like you have chickens or something. Yeah, and I'm like, where do you live, dude? Yeah. Like I thought you lived. I mean, you get it once again. You're there for you end up in these little small surface level conversations. I mean, for all I knew, you lived next door to the gym because you're there all the time.
Yeah, it's a 35-minute drive each way.
That's crazy.
It's nice. I mean, like it's hard for some people. Like that's like one of the best things about like where I'm opening the gym. Like for me, I've been wrestling since I was 5, right? So like for me, I know the investment's worth it to drive the 35 minutes both ways to like go work with the best people like possible. You know what I mean?
Different.
Like, it's different. Like, but an hour's a lot for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like just to get there, forget about the workout, showering, you know what I mean?
Yeah. For a lot of people, that's just off the table.
You know what I mean? So like for me, like I'm blessed. Like I knew I'm used to that even like growing up. Like everything was a 20-minute drive somewhere. You know what I mean? Like it almost becomes like a part of when I do my thinking, when I do, make some calls I got to make. Ask Formiga, ask Rodrigo, like they're coming into private. And sometimes I'm already at the gym, like with my laptop because I was on a call and then I had to come in and I'm like working on kick site, you know what I mean? Or like
finishing the next thing.
Exactly. Like just trying to squeeze it all together.
A lot of people made that comment, like with COVID, when everybody started working from home, that they lost. I mean, I hate commuting, dude. If I never have to commute into an office building again in my life, that would be just fine with me. I won't miss it one single bit. But a lot of people found that like 30 minutes as their solitude. You know, maybe that's when they picked up a podcast, or maybe that's when they did their thinking or returned all their phone calls or whatever. It's funny because it's just such a like an ingrained part of culture that it actually, to me, it's torture, but to some people like that, they need it. You know, it's a part of the day.
And we'll get into it more, for sure. But like when it comes to like, for me, when COVID hit, I had so much more time. I didn't even, because I work from home, but like when I'm at home, right? So like I'm traveling for work, and I wouldn't be like do crazy trips, but like two or 3 day trips, like break up your week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I had enough to be consistent jiu-jitsu. I've had the opportunity to train like around the world because of my job. You know what I mean? It's such an amazing like blessing.
I love it.
Like I choose to do it, right? Like I choose to not make the excuse of like, oh, I'm on the road, so I like pack my gi. I prefer to pack no gi stuff, right? But like sometimes
shocking.
Actually, one person we'll definitely talk about today is Wagner, right? Like because you started in Florida. I forgot about that as we prepared for when he came in after no gi pants.
Of course he doesn't remember me.
Yeah. But no, so like, but like that part of time I got back, not having to like pack my bags, do the preparation, do all that stuff, right? Like get myself ready for those calls. Like I saved so much time.
Yeah.
Like I never realized, like, even though when I wasn't away, like how much time I spent on the road. Like
it's inefficient on the road. It's a trick, and that's part of the trick. Like I'm kind of that way too. I threw my body around the world just as a habit. And I always trained when I would go travel, like in places that I go all the time. I have just home gyms there, like a lot of my teams in Ireland. And so anytime I go to Dublin, dude, I have a place to go. It's so cool.
Sick, man.
It's awesome, man.
Yeah, especially in a different, like
100%, dude. And they like it too, you know, cause you know, like Formiga was talking about it on the podcast. Like it's nice to have other people come in and cross train with you because, you know, new ideas start to flow, and, you know, you could troubleshoot things on different people that aren't used to, you know, like the leg lock that you throw all the time or whatever the case may be, you know? So it's just kind of I don't know. It's different.
It's fun. Like I've gotten to train it was when I was a blue belt. I think I had just gotten my blue belt. Like I've been to Brazil once. I had the opportunity to go train as a purple belt.
That's
like down in Brazil for my job. But one time I was in Germany, and like Brazil's different because like some people know English still. A lot of like, especially, I don't know, for whatever reason, like it seemed like a lot of the Germans didn't speak English, and like so it was in the manufacturing plant.
Oh, really?
So like for whatever reason, but it was the first time I actually realized like I paid so much more attention to the details because I didn't know what they were saying. And like when they were teaching the techniques, you had to be that more focused on, and like you don't know what they're going to show that day. It could be something that could like change your game, right? So it's like from a different, you know what I mean? Like something you don't have a chance to see anywhere else because it's basically across the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this was like before like BJJ fanatics and all those things like really became big. Like, so it you didn't have that same network of knowledge.
Yeah. That's cool.
Even in the last, 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what they're doing. I mean, it's a whole different continent, a whole different group. I mean, like, yeah, you're right. The internet does kind of like flatten things out a little bit, but I mean, still like it's a little pocket and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's dig in, man. I mean, like, I know that you grew up in Jersey and like you were joking about, dude, I don't know anything about the Garden State. I know Newark Airport, which like
that's the worst thing you could know about New Jersey. That's
well, the second worst is probably the intro to The Sopranos. I mean, like, so that is my like context for Jersey. I mean, what was it like growing up in Jersey let's start there.
Yeah. Honestly, I loved it. New Jersey is a cool place to grow up. Like where I grew up, I was about 45 minutes from the mountains, hour from the beach. And like, I could either get down to Philadelphia where I went to college, right? Or to New York City, like an hour and a half, like depending on traffic,
That's
right?
Crazy.
And how, whether you drive or take the train, right?
It sounds like traffic's just a part of life.
Yeah. Right. That's why I live now. Right. Like I just stay out there, but, no, it was great. I had an amazing, like supportive family, you know what I mean? Like, especially when it came to like sports, getting me around everywhere. Like, I was all over the place.
Dude, kudos to your family, dude. If you like, as a wrestling father, two kids that have grown up in wrestling, like the week we're about to go to Houston. After that, we're going to go to Louisiana, and you're going to spend all day in a gym. It's going to stink. The facilities are going to be horrible. The restrooms are going to be disgusting. The concession food's going to be terrible for you. And you're going to see your son wrestle some part of the day for little 5-minute increments. Maybe if you're lucky, like 3 or 4 times, if they made the bracket all the way.
Right.
You know, I mean, dude, and your parents did that for basically all of your childhood, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, and I mean, like, and me and my brother always played different sports. Like I wrestled, he played basketball. You know what I mean? So, like I played football, he played soccer. So it was like always like divide and conquer. But
that's cool.
Yeah, like for
younger
me,
brother.
Yeah, younger brother. Yeah, super 15 months apart. So
okay, dude,
yeah,
cool.
But when it comes to like, I played 4 sports up until I was a sophomore in high school, and then I decided like I don't really feel like playing football anymore. Like I really wanted to focus on wrestling. It was also when I transferred from, I wrestled for Blair Academy my freshman and sophomore year of high school. And I just didn't like living there. You know what I mean? Like I kind of missed home.
Where is that?
In Blairstown, New Jersey. Okay. So yeah, like, and we'll talk a little bit more about, you know, like teams and stuff like that. But I mean, anybody listen to the podcast and they're into wrestling knows like we were national champions both years I was there.
Really?
Like, public. I mean, and you can recruit from anywhere, but like, I mean, I had the opportunity, and we'll talk about it. I've been in rooms and seen people training and trained with like the best of the best. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I've seen the work, you know, I've seen what it takes. It's like one of the things I think I see, like when it helps me get up is like, if you want to be the best at anything, I see what it takes. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to be that or do you not? You know what I mean? Like that's a question you have to ask yourself. Like, and if you just want to like be, then that's okay too. You know what I mean? But like, I'm driven, I'm competitive. You know what I mean? Not to be like detrimental to anybody else, of course. Like it's me versus me always. But like at the same time, it's like, I want what you want, but show me how you do it. You know what I mean? Like that, it's a different mindset. You know what I mean?
Would they recruit? I mean, were they like only a wrestling powerhouse, and they recruit wrestling, or were they good at all sports? Or
they were pretty solid at all sports, but like wrestling was the thing. And basketball, actually. Like we had 2 NBA basketball players, Luol Deng and Charlie Villanueva were there at the same time. Wow. So that was always crazy.
That's awesome.
So it was like, it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like for some reason I have this button in my head where it's like, I want to like push myself as far as I can. You know what I mean? The things that I want to do and pursue.
Was it a private school? I mean, it sounded like you had to move there for it.
Yeah, it was a boarding school.
School.
Yeah,
really?
So for 2 years, so when I was my freshman and sophomore year. Yeah.
So what was that like at home? I mean, dude, as a probably 14-year-old, you ended up having to leave the house.
Yeah.
Is that normal in the Northeast? It seems like it's kind of a Northeast thing. I mean, it's not a Texas thing, I don't think.
Not really. I mean,
it wasn't a thing. I grew up in the Midwest, and it wasn't a Midwest thing either.
There's a lot in the Northeast. Like,
I hear about it more often.
But there's still small schools. You know what I mean? They're still super small, like 400 people, 400 students, stuff like that. But it's funny because like moving down here, it's funny you say that. Like homeschooling, like was kind of like quote unquote taboo, like but like everyone's homeschooled in Texas. Everybody, it was like they were ahead of the curve when it came to homeschooling. You know?
Do you guys homeschool?
Who?
You and your son? I guess he's not even old enough for it. Yeah, but I mean, he's going to be public.
Oh yeah, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, nothing wrong with either of the options. No, but, you're right. I think also you've got a little sample bias too, because the people that we're around a lot, have, I mean, that's their thing is homeschooling. And
I feel like it's who you surround yourself with, like the people, not just the teachers, but like you can learn from anybody. Yeah. Right. That's like the beauty of jiu-jitsu. You know?
Would you go home on the weekends, or what would you, how'd your mom and dad see you? I mean,
once in a while I was playing sports, but that's what I was saying. Like up until my junior year, like, so I played football in the fall. Okay. Wrestling in the winter. I played lacrosse in the spring. And then baseball in the summer when I'd go home.
That's crazy.
So man. And then when I moved,
busy schedule as a kid,
and I worked and I'd umpire baseball games like during the summer on top of playing summer ball and stuff like that. And like, I've always been a sports guy. Yeah. You know what I mean, I just like, I like being an athlete. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people. Like, you go train with people and you see like where their background comes in, aside from just like being a wrestler. Like if you're a wrestler and you can like turn the wrestler off in somebody and see like the other stuff they do. Like I taught a private once to a white belt, never trained before, he trained for like a month, but he's a college basketball player. his footwork was stupid passing. Like
Really?
you could just like tell him where
No
to put his
kidding.
feet, and we're doing like butterfly passing, some open guard passing stuff. And it was like
That makes sense.
soccer players, right? Crazy gas tanks usually.
Yeah,
like
dude.
good high level.
You can't empty it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's the football players, like super good base. You know what I mean? Like obviously hard to take down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we even see it in some of our kids in our kids classes. We talk about like that cross reference. So like we encourage all of our kids to play different sports. You know what I mean? Like being well-rounded, especially like for every like one person I knew that was like an Olympic athlete now, like I knew thousands of kids that were like got burnt out by the time they were 16.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I do see that. And it's not, I mean, it's every sport. Football is probably one of the big ones here, but like baseball's another one, volleyball. I mean, actually there's probably not any limitation where people just have the opportunity now to do it year round, and you get straight up burnout.
It's so hard too. And like, it's funny cause like we were talking to Nate, talking to Big Nate.
Big
about
Nate.
Yeah.
It might have been his wrestling shoes.
Right. But like, just, yeah, like it's so hard to like do wrestling. For me, it would have been like, I push myself to the brink if I'm going to do something. And like, for me, one of the things, the detriments, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about like, and you're younger, don't cut weight.
Oh my
Do
God.
not
Thank
cut
God
weight. We were talking about it literally today. Like,
it's the best message I've heard all day.
Like seriously, like I'm like 190 pounds, and that's about like what I weighed like in the middle of summer wrestling. But like I was wrestling 157, and like people would be like, "You look sick," you know what I mean? Like, and I wasn't even a starter, you know what I mean? So I was just like crushing my body, you know what I mean? Like
it's never done right. Like there's a right way to do it.
Yeah.
And so if you're a kid that is I don't know, maybe you're a junior or a senior, and you've got a parent that's a nutritionist, you've got the discipline to follow their advice, and that's going to mean meal prep. That's going to mean no smacking through boxes of Oreos after, a wrestling contest or whatnot. Then go ahead, control your weight a little bit, knock off a few pounds. But if you're normal and you plan to have Thanksgiving, you plan to have Christmas, you plan to have New Year's, like all of the holidays that go through the wrestling season, then give yourself a little bit of a cushion. Yeah. And understand, like a 10-pound dumbbell and a 10 pounds of muscle. I mean, like find a way to get stronger.
It's just, it crushes your body.
Oh my God. Man, it crushes your spirit.
Yeah.
It's nothing worse than a parent to watch your kids sit and like, nibble through a Cheez-It.
Well, my wife gets mad sometimes because like, not sometimes, like one specific thing I'll never forget, the winter storm 2 years ago, like when we have no power, right? And we're out in the country. Now, we're in the country. We got well water. So we like kind of had nothing out there for a couple of days. And we had Nico was like 6 months old at the time.
Yeah, dude, that's
concerning. Yeah, we're like cold, and stuff. And like, she's like, aren't you stressed? Like I was pretty calm relatively. And she's like, and I kind of like looked at her and I was like, this kind of feels like cutting weight. You know what I mean? I'm like, honestly, it's just like, the scales come in like at a certain time. You don't know when, but you just got to embrace the suck a little bit and like, just deal. And she looked at me and rolled her eyes, and I was like, I don't know if that's the right,
that's funny.
The right answer, the right ticket to pull out. But
maybe not. Dude, my kids know it. And same with the coach up at school. Like immediately, this is not a knock on the coach at all. I don't mean that by any stretch, but too often, if your kid didn't have a good performance that night, they're like, look, I really think you ought to go down to, if you're at 175, you might consider 165. Like it's some magic formula or something. Like you're going to starve yourself to get down to the next weight class. Probably not the best idea. And what is really funny about it is I've been so outspoken that up in Waco or down in Waco, they didn't have anybody in my weight class, right? So I ended up having to go up 2 weight classes just to get a match. And I went against somebody in ultra, and it went okay, but I didn't win. And so I'm sitting there talking about it afterwards, and both of my kids are like, but it's not a big deal, right? We shouldn't even, and I'm like, okay, so fair enough. Yeah, it was a factor, but anyway, I guess I got to watch my advice a little bit.
Right. No, but I mean, like, at the same time, like that's the thing. Like when people see me at the gym, sometimes I think like they say, you don't look tired, or like, why? But like I have the ability to put my head down, and that's one of those things that like has helped me get through a lot. You know what I mean? It's like the ability to just kind of like put my head down, and like sometimes maybe not the best situation to do it, but like it's helped me get through some things, and then like come out the other side and be like, well, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's why I think why I'm kind of so serious, not serious, but like in the room when I'm training, it's like, cause like, that's what I'm used to there.
Yeah.
Right? Like
you
that's
do
my
seem
routine.
like you have
when
a
I come in.
switch. Yeah. Like,
Oh, I
hey,
do.
man, when we're training, dude, then let's train.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't freaking comedy hour.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't social time.
I mean, it's social time for sure. And like, it's funny cause like when I started jiu-jitsu, I started up in Philadelphia. Right. And I trained under Jared Weiner. His name is, he's a 4th degree. Him and Formiga are like neck and neck. It's funny actually. Formiga
really?
sent me a picture one day of him. They're both like, obviously we know Formiga's an OG, right? But like Jared's like an OG. He's like one of the first sponsored athletes by Show Your Roll. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like,
oh, that's cool.
Old school.
Did they know each other from back in the day?
Or? Oh yeah.
Did they know?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
did they
plus
compete against
Formiga,
each other? Or
yeah, they were on the same podium.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Dude, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yep.
Statistically unusual. I
right.
mean, like given all of the stuff that's going on, I mean, to have two guys, same weight class, same time,
you
know, close to the same age, I guess, apparently.
Yeah. But I started in like basically like his was like a wrestling room.
Really?
And that's what like one of the things I think I loved about it was that like when you went in there, it was different, it felt like wrestling practice. You know what I mean? Like everybody knew what was coming.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Awesome,
it
man.
was like when people would, whether it was Jared or, you know, like one of the other professors, you didn't talk during drilling. You know what I mean? Like you'd ask the instructor to help you with the technique, because then you wouldn't stray as far away from the technique they were trying to get to you that day. You know what I mean? And that's why like the technique up there is like, I've seen some world-class guys go up in there and like, they don't come out looking the same way that they did when they went in. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
And it's like, but nobody knows about this place, this amazing school.
This is in Philly?
I mean? Yeah. Just north. Yeah.
Just north?
Yeah.
Okay. What leading up to, I mean, I know you moved from Blairstown back up, I guess, to
Phillipsburg.
Okay. Yep. And that was where you finished up junior and senior year?
Yeah. So it was funny because I went from like, and that was the thing, like Blair was nice and stuff, but the goals I think of like, I didn't necessarily have a goal that would have kept me there. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really want to go to an Ivy League school. I knew like kind of like where my goals sat, you know what I mean? Like, so from 14, when you kind of go out on your own in that way, you know what I mean? Like kind of have to think and act for yourself.
That's awesome.
It's awesome in a way, you know, you maybe like I wanted it because I wanted to go wrestle with the best guys in the country. Right. Yeah. But like at the same time, like that ability to actually like go and just think for yourself. You know what I mean? Like we had study hall we'd have to get to, we had to plan things.
That's
it was
level,
good.
Man. I can see that.
It's cool. And I think like the wrestling might've like kind of blinded me a little bit, and it was really good. I got that skill, like those things, like for now in my life, like how responsible I can be, like pretty reasonably young in my career. Right.
For sure.
But like, then the other part was like, I kind of wanted to like, I didn't really want to go to these crazy schools or anything. Like I knew that I could hit my goals and like be at home with my friends, I think. And some of that always like kind of sat there, and like, so I went home for 2 years, and I still like, I wrestled for Phillipsburg High School. Like we were state champions my junior year. Senior year, we were literally lost in the finals by like a point. You know what I mean? But
that's like, crazy.
I got to wrestle.
So like, you guys probably sent 10 or so guys to states then. I mean, and
it's funny. Like we never
or you had people that just did really well.
Well,
that's a lot of points to rack up.
We were a hard-nosed team. You know what I mean? Like, again, it was kind of like where I live now. It's like a blue collar town. You know what I mean? Like just, we were grinders. You know what I mean?
That's wrestling.
We'd have
That's what I think about when I think of wrestlers.
I haven't been there yet, but like they have a new high school. And so they even kept the high school gym at the old high school for the wrestling matches. It was called the Pit. And like, we'd have probably like 1,000 to 1,500 people, I think, in the gym, and like the student section's going nuts.
Dude,
and like,
that's crazy for wrestling.
And like standing room only. Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
it, like, but like that pressure, like it was funny when I was talking to my mom about the podcast.
It's a good turnout
today.
for wrestling, man.
She's like, think about wrestling. Like you're a kid going out on a mat against another kid. You're performing for like hundreds at least of people. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not a thing where it's like a solo or singing where it's like you versus you per se. You know what I mean? Like there's a physical object in front of you.
No, and for sure.
Like you could miss a note and somebody could still say you do good. But like if you get like the score racked up on you and it's like almost like a tech fall versus getting pinned, it's like that's something you got to swallow.
I know.
And like move on and like take the lesson and like pick your ball up and like keep moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that ability to do that at such a young age, or like the opportunity to do that at such a young age. Like I know we've talked about Jaden, or you guys have talked about Jaden and Jonathan.
Yeah.
I tell Daniel all the time, like the things that they're going to learn from like just that repetitive going the fight to win, right?
Yeah.
Like the fight to win. It's not even as much the IBJJS, but like that big stage stuff.
Yeah.
No matter what they ever do, like future on in life, you can look back and be like, what pressure? I was a 14-year-old kid, like fighting in front of a bunch of adults.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man.
Like you
it's
can
a form
do
of
anything.
resistance.
Yep.
It's a form of resistance.
And with wrestling, like that's one of those things, like it keeps you, you know what I mean? It keeps you like in that thing. Back. Like how much harder can it be mentally than like doing that as a kid? You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things, like it's the same kind of as a parent. I mean, obviously you're not out there, but like you always got to try to like kind of remember that, like it's your kid that's out there. They're the ones that are going to have to pick themselves up. Like you can yell all you want. You can provide all of this unsolicited advice, which every parent tries not to do, but does do. But your kid's the one that's going to have to go out there and win and lose, come off the mat as a winner or a loser, and then find a way to kind of like fight through the little demons and get themselves right back up, which they're probably going to wrestle again that day too, you know?
Same thing as a coach.
Yeah.
Like I'm starting to learn that now too. You know what I mean? Like we got some little killers like going to competitions, and like not every day goes their way.
Yeah. Is that right?
Oh, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, especially kids are going to get disappointed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like they're learning lessons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like super important lessons, like accountability. Right?
What was it like? You know, I know we were kind of talking about this a little bit before, but Texas is not a wrestling powerhouse, you know, like the Northeast is. And so the schools here are doing a really good job. The local high school wrestling program is coming up. Like they've put a lot of investment into it over the last 2 or 3 years. And we saw a before and after picture, like with my son, because what it was when he was a freshman, they changed the program out. They've started to put a lot more into it. But even then, like it's very hit or miss. Like there's not a lineup per se, you know. So if one of your kids gets hurt, I mean, that could completely, you know, screw up the you know, your chances of having a good team, quote unquote. And we sent like a couple kids to state last year, and we only had one that went on to wrestling college. And I think it was like a D3 school or something like that. My son, my older one, the one that you had just recently met, he medaled down in in high school in Florida, and then he wrestled in club in college. And he even said at like the club level, it was like a major level up for him. What was it like making that leap from being in a big powerhouse school, right? You went to a couple of them. You guys obviously both the Blairstown school and where you graduated sound like kind of powerhouses, and then going in to wrestle at the collegiate level.
It's such a like, it's a catch-22 because like honestly I wasn't the best wrestler on my team, but like I was doing all the workouts in the off season. I'd run 2 miles. I do the 2 mile loop every single day, rain, shine. I time it every time. You know what I mean? Like,
is that like a wrestler thing? Like this 2 mile interval? I mean, I don't know where that came from.
It was just easy, and it was like kind of the safest thing we could do. That was not the track.
Okay.
You know, like my high school coach at Phillipsburg was the cross country coach. So like even in like, so here you go, even in like February, right? Like,
in
so
Jersey.
when we'd start the season, we'd have to do like a 7-minute mile or 8-minute mile. Everybody would before practice.
A little spicy.
8-minute mile and 100 push-ups before every practice.
Okay.
And like every month we'd keep moving down 15 minutes. Rain, snow, like we'd run on a snowy track. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah. And
trying to do a 7-minute mile in the snow is, you know.
And sometimes if it was real bad, we would do them in the halls, but it would almost be worse because it was 90-degree turns versus a bank.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, 6 1 half dozen the other.
That's crazy.
You know? So, but so I wasn't the best wrestler. I wasn't the best, like, I wasn't the most athletic. I've never like been the most athletic guy. You know what I mean? Like I was just a short, chubby kid, like growing up, and I had a crazy growth spurt in my freshman year of college or high school. I grew 8 inches and stayed the same weight. But I would always go and do the work in the off season. You know what I mean? Like I was always active. So then like when I was just wrestling my junior year, like I needed something to fill that time. So like that's when I found like, that's when the passion came to like the strength and conditioning and like all the things I'm doing now.
Yeah.
That's why this dream like started like 18 years ago. You know what I mean? Like truly, like I've had integral conversations with my parents about like decisions I almost made just to go that path. Wow. You know what I mean? And like, thankfully, like, I'm blessed for like all the things I've learned through this, but like that all started like from that work ethic when I was like 17, 18.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's been cool.
That's cool.
You know?
Any notable things in college to point out? I mean, while you were there, or
Not really.
Just college wrestling's college wrestling?
Just college wrestling. I didn't take any, like, that was the thing. Like, so I guess going back to like, there wasn't any big step. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is not that there's tons of skilled kids out there. There's so many skilled kids out there. It's what you want to do. Like, and that's that balance as a kid though, like the work ethic, right?
Yeah.
Like not necessarily redlining those kids, but like making sure they're at least consistent. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to do some crazy program. Mm-hmm. Teach them how to be coachable so that when they go to college, like, and they go to the real experts, then it's like, you know what I mean? Like you're going to like, in high school, I wrestled. He's I think he was like the USA Olympic wrestling coach. Right. Really? But like, imagine that opportunity. Like there's those coaches that do like our team, like work on Team USA at the college level, that you have a chance to go. Imagine if you could be coachable and just like be a sponge to those people versus being an 18-year-old punk.
Yeah.
That like thinks that you're just a crazy good athlete.
Man, I'd like to be just a fly on the wall, to be honest.
Like I think that's like one of those things, you know what I mean? Like being coachable and learning about consistency and discipline, not being crazy. You know what I mean? Like you don't gotta be crazy. Just enough, you know? Did
you know while you were wrestling that, I mean, jiu-jitsu was out there? I mean, did you see all this stuff going on? I mean, what attracted you? I mean, obviously there's a correlation between, your grappling arts, right? So, I mean, that's kind of a silly question, but what led you into Brazilian jiu-jitsu? It's
funny. So like I grew up, like my cousin's actually a brown belt in Florida.
Really? What part of Florida?
It's like by West Palm Beach.
Okay.
He actually trains under one of the guys in my weight class from BTT.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. I mean, that's where we came up from.
Yeah, Procopio.
Okay.
So he's a brown belt there now, but like when I was 16, he's had a hard schedule. He kind of has a crazy work schedule that doesn't allow him to train as much as he'd like to. But he used to try and beat me up, like, because I was a wrestler, so he'd like just try and beat me up in the yard when I was 16, 17. He bought me a book. I think it was like maybe my senior year of high school. He bought me 2 books. He bought me Eddie Bravo's 10th Planet Rubber Guard.
Oh my God.
And the Hoist Gracie, like Fundamentals of Jiu-Jitsu stuff. And I can't
totally
find them.
Different.
but it was so good because like I could see the gi and I could see the no gi and you know what I mean? So like I've actually like kind of like messed around in college. Once I got done wrestling, I actually trained at the what's it called? Philadelphia Fight Factory. Okay. So like I was like the beating dummy for like Eddie Alvarez. Like I was a 22, 23-year-old punk. And honestly, that's like one of the things that kind of got me to like not really want to go the MMA route. Was like I would spar with Eddie and he was always super nice, you know what I mean? But he liked me because like I was 165, 170 pounds, super hard worker. You know, I would be there every day.
Yeah.
But like we'd be sparring with boxing.
Durable.
Yeah, I'd be sparring with boxing gloves on and he would like just catch me, like just sparring, like truly sparring.
Yeah.
And like the cobwebs, the room would start to get a little dark, and I'd be like, I don't think this is for me. You know what I mean? Like it was fun as it worked out. Like I love Muay Thai. Like I tell people now, like it's one of the best workouts you can do.
Sure.
It just like, so I like had some experience, but then like I kind of focused on my work for a little bit and then it wasn't planned by any means. But when I was about 27 or 28, one of my friends, basketball Mike, we had some mutual friends from like I bounced through college. So like after I stopped wrestling, I worked Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, bouncing at the bar every night. You know what I mean? And
nice continuation.
And even in out of college when I had my first full-time job, I was bartending on the weekends. Like I'd be coming back from a work trip and then going right there, work until 3 a.m. Like I've just always like burn it from both ends. I guess you know.
Did you start jits right after school? Or
no, I was 28.
You were 28.
Yeah, I started jiu-jitsu at 28.
I had no idea. I just assumed you had started like right away.
I wish. My cousin always tells me. He even told me when I was a kid. He's like, you would have been. He's like, you are really good. He's like, but you would have been like crazy good if you would have like
of course,
just like gone into it. But like, I needed a break. You know what I mean? I wasn't necessarily burnt out, but I had a lot of injuries. Like I stopped wrestling because I had they never really even like properly diagnosed it, but basically this was it. I couldn't do a push-up with 2 arms, but I could do 10 one-arm push-ups with 1 arm. So I had like tricep damage on the side. If you look at my arms, like I had some tingling, but like everything's back now.
No kidding.
So I'm always super careful of that even now. You know what I mean? And that's like why, you know, like I'm always careful about when I get injured, like I chill. Yeah. My goal is always to train tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Same with me, man. You know, not every day is your day, you know, and like if I start to feel that, like I just feel vulnerable, you know, I guess for lack of a better word, like today, I seem like I could get hurt easier, you know, like just be smart.
Yeah. So like for me,
is it like a shoulder cage thing? Is it something that goes through the connective tissue between the sides of your shoulders?
Well, I have like a big neck and traps. So I think there's a lot of tightness up in there.
Yeah.
And I think like JB.
Oh, dude,
shout out to JB.
I mean, dude, he's infamous. He doesn't even know. I don't even know if he listens.
He's going to end up on every one of your podcasts and discussions.
Well, because he is kind of an integral part of the gym. Right. Man. He's the team doc.
And he's a beast too.
Of course.
He's so unassuming. He comes in there and just
my hips just won't be there when you want him to be there. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like he's just got this kind of invisible jujitsu. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
But yeah, so like he's told me, you know, I have like a pretty tight upper back, and I like try and work on it and stuff. But I actually had like some tricep damage that like I was like, this is kind of stupid. You know what I mean? Like I should focus on like kind of graduating. You know what I mean? Like getting my feet under me a little bit. Yeah. And it just kind of like so happened that I lived in the city. It's hard to get around like cheap. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have I graduated like during the you know what I mean? The economic downturn.
Like
2010. Yeah.
2010. Yeah, man. So that was the heat of it.
And I came out of school. I had 3 6-month internships too. Like I had 3 6-month internships with like corporations under my belt and a college degree in business and engineering. And I couldn't really find a job that fit my field. I was getting paid like not very well to work like 75 hours a week doing staffing for home health aides. That's crazy. Like around the clock care. Like, and it like taught me about like, it kind of like put like where I am now versus where I am then. Like, I was so, you know, like so not focused on the right things. You know what I mean? And it was hard, but you know, you learn from that.
So. How'd you get, I mean, so what was the launch of your career? I mean, maybe it wasn't right after college, but I mean, what would you consider kind of like when you finally said, look, this is a profession I'm going to take on? I mean, when was that?
It's kind of just been fluid from that point. Honestly, like I stuck that out because like I wasn't one of those people who was going to move back home. Like I'm independent. Like
you stayed down in Philly.
I stayed down in Philly.
Okay.
Like, I mean, it's
town.
It's a joke. Like I
hate the football team.
I was basically like living on my girlfriend's couch, my girlfriend at the time's couch. You know what I mean? Like we kind of knew like we didn't want to move back home. Like we were both from New Jersey, but like we wanted to stay. Like for my type of job, like manufacturing, engineering, there's not much in New Jersey. That's what like one of the things that stinks because there's like not much industry there anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's like hard to move back there. It's a lot of services. You know what I mean? And it's like a lot of seasonal stuff. It's just hard, especially when you have 6 figures in loans, right? Like coming out of school and you're like, what the heck do I do now? You know what I mean?
It becomes a reality.
Yeah. But so like came out of school, did that. And then when I got hired by a company called SKF.
Okay.
They had like one of the world's largest manufacturer of like bearings, like high precision stuff for all different types of applications. But I was basically a trainee, and it's actually funny. I sent a message to the guy who gave me the chance. You know what I mean? Like that guy who, one of the guys that kind of took the choice to not look at the resume like you're talking about, and like because I remember that. I'm a very, you know me, I'm a very clear-cut person. Like if you ask me for advice, I'm going to tell it to you constructively, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Right. And even when I didn't necessarily have a job that I was enjoying, he's like, so, you know, tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm like, I'm not your typical engineer. I don't want to sit behind a desk. I don't want to do drawings. I want to be out there getting my hands dirty and learning. You know what I mean? Like that's how I like to do things. I think that's why I like jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like you can watch all the videos and stuff, but like, you need to put time on the mats. You know what I mean? Like you need to get your hands dirty. You know what I mean?
I totally agree, man. If there is an entry point for anybody, like And not every career field has this, right? And not every industry has this. But if there's an entry point in your industry, so for example, like I'm in aviation, my first job was as a mechanic. And it's not the most prestigious job in the world, but it paid really well. And it paid fine. I shouldn't say really well. It was enough to make a living and support a family and whatnot.
Yep.
But more importantly, like as I got later on into my career, that was like the foundation for everything, having scrubbed turbine grease out of your fingernails and stuff like that. There's something formative about that. It leads it from there.
Exactly. Like I've climbed turbines in New Hampshire in the middle of February.
Not a lot of engineers are doing that. Not a lot of managers are doing that.
Taking a snowcat out from the O&M building to the turbine, no heat, like minimal heat in the cab of the thing, right? You go up and you're basically like the only heat you have up in the turbine is the heat from the from the transmission and the generator working, right? And then like you basically know that heat's going to run out, so you got to get that thing back online and get down tower like before you start you freeze up there, right? Or climbing turbines. And
that's crazy, man. So what brought you down to Texas?
So I did that.
You had already started jiu-jitsu before Texas, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you're up in Philly.
At SKF, so I spent 5 years there, and I kind of like my career got a little bit stagnant there, and I think like my direction of like where I wanted to take my career and where they thought that they kind of wanted to place me, it didn't really fit. And it's a huge company. Like I thought, honestly, it's funny. I thought I was going to be there forever. I thought I was going to be there forever, man. I was so excited. You know what I mean? I got a job that I enjoy. And like the reason, so I got trained, but I actually so they had 6 positions, and I ended up interviewing with the Renewable Energy Group and Off Highway and all these guys.
Okay.
And from my experience, like shadowing people, it was the only place where people never said, well, that's the way we've always done it. Because it was such a new industry. And like, to me, that was like an opportunity to be like, this is something I can really enjoy learning. You know what I mean? Like learning with everybody else, not just like, oh yeah, go read that manual over there. That's exactly how we've done it for the last 20 years. Yeah. And I gravitate towards like stuff like that.
I mean, as a manufacturing engineer, especially, I mean, if somebody tells you like stand by for further disapproval,
But I was on the application side. So I was working with like customers more. So I was like bringing the applications more to the manufacturing, like to the factories, because different factories make different bearings.
Gotcha.
But so then that kind of ran its course, and I got hired by one of my customers because I got into sales like in the wind group. And then when I got into sales, like I kind of got my feet wet on understanding like business, right? Like real business, not like business and in accounting. I was saying to my mom, I'm like, I don't even know how to calculate an interest rate, but I understand the concept of like paying things off faster in the beginning saves way more money than at the end, right?
Right.
I still can't figure the formula they gave me in that big piece of paper I got on the wall. Doesn't matter. But once I like start having to pay my bills and mortgages and like looking at stuff like from a business perspective, I'm like, this is how I learn. You know what I mean?
It's like jiu-jitsu. I'd rather you understand the concepts, right? Than the
formula.
Yeah.
Then this. That's not how it works.
Not how it works. It never works. Real life jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. But so I kind of ran its course. I got hired by my one of my customers, and so that's where I work now. And we manufacture wind turbine gearboxes. So like the transmissions, like in your car, right? So your car has a combustion engine. Wind turbines are the exact opposite of a car. A car is combustion engine, transmission, and then down to the wheels, right? A wind turbine, you're harnessing energy. So you're taking that energy from the blades, it's pushing it into the transmission, and then the transmission goes to it speeds the RPMs up to a generator. Okay. So the generator gets energy. A combustion engine in a car gives energy, right? So it's kind of like the reverse process.
Does it just store it up and then transmit it to some kind of power grid or something like that?
Pretty much. There's a substation like at the like on site there. Okay. And there's like all sorts, all the typical stuff.
I'm sure it's what I mean, beyond the scope.
Converters and all that fun stuff. But so I work primarily just on like the mechanical stuff. So the gearboxes primarily. So 40,000 pound gearbox is like as big as 2 of your trucks. You know what I mean? And we manufacture those overseas as well as here in Fort Worth. We rebuild them. So I work for like a transmission rebuild shop basically. And it's super fun. You know what I mean? Like I love it. Like it's cool. Sometimes honestly, like I've been doing it so long that it becomes a little bit like it almost becomes like I know the play, you know what I mean? And like, I don't like knowing the play. I like, you know what I mean? But like I love my customers. I get to work with like people at very high levels. Like we've talked about, like I get to work with CEOs of major, owner operators of turbines, and I get to work with guys on the site. You know what I mean? I get to go like,
it's a good mix.
Oh yeah.
Are you guys like, when the one time I've been through Cronce, I was taking my son out to Lubbock.
Yep.
And like all the way out there, Lubbock, man, it's just fields and fields of
Yep.
these things. Is that some of you guys, or
so we don't make
that same application, or is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And we don't manufacture it. So the manufacturers are like the major OEMs, and they basically just assemble it all.
Okay.
But there's like for example, like I said, we supply the gearbox.
Yeah.
Somebody supplies the generator. Somebody supplies other electrical components in it, wires,
Gotcha.
tubes, everything.
Gotcha.
Rubber hoses. You know what I mean? To get oil from here to there, and cooling systems, and name it. You know what I mean? Like so it's really fun. And I love, it's like a small industry. It's still like a kind of a niche, but
that's cool, man.
It's neat.
I've like just learned that you get stuck in your little world, and the industry that I'm in. I've been in it for a long time,
Yeah.
So you kind of just don't look to the sides, you know, the left and the right, but there's all kinds of cool stuff out there.
Yeah.
Going back to jiu-jitsu for a sec, when you got back in, I guess in your late 20s, obviously as a successful grappler, and we talked a little bit about this ahead of time. Like, I've not really had a very linear path. I've had these moments where I've plateaued quite a bit, and then I've had these moments where all of a sudden, like seemingly out of nowhere, like I just looked up and I'm like, man, I got a little bit better over the weekend.
Yep.
Did you have, what was your path like? Obviously the background must have been helpful, but from blue to black belt, did you have these periods where you just sort of leveled up? Did you have any plateaus? How did it look on your journey?
To be honest with you, I don't really like pay attention to it that much. And I think like that's, for example, like, we have some like workhorses that are ex-wrestlers like at our gym in Howland Village, right?
Yep.
And it's like one of those things I think that helps is that like when you're a wrestler, you don't ever worry about belts.
Yeah.
You just worry about like improving yourself, right?
Yeah,
like, where do I have to clean things up and do things? It's like either you're varsity or you're kind of not. If your intention is to be competitive, it's like I think that's one of the beauties of jiu-jitsu is that when you're there's no adult wrestling club. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's no adult football club. There's no because a lot of the sports, like, it's hard to do them forever, for one, but also two, like, it's all just competition based. Mm-hmm. There's no real lesson in it. Yeah. There's no skill. Like, there's skills for sure, but like, I feel like jiu-jitsu is like just as much mental. It's truly just as much mental as it is physical. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where like with wrestling, you just the whole entire time you're worried about like the next tournament. You know what I mean? It's a crazy season. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a crazy season, but it's only a season. Yeah. A lot of jiu-jitsu guys, you see them doing it around the year, around the entire year. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? Like, there really is no true off season. Yeah. So like that non-linear thing, I would say like it's a blessing and a curse, right? Like, I never paid attention to the belts, so I never really paid attention to plateaus or any of that stuff. Yeah. I never paid attention to like. What were you paying attention to? You were just like, hey, let me get out there and train. Just be a sponge. Got it. Just be a sponge. You know what I mean? Like, just surround yourself with people you want to be. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and you know what I mean? Make sure, and at the same time, when you start to catch that wave and understand, make sure that you're like pulling the board behind you. You know what I mean? Like, make sure that like you were that person one day. Yeah. You know what I mean? I see you working with a lot of people on that stuff too. You were one of our training schedules haven't really lined up lately, but I know when I first started in Howland Village, you were on the same training schedule that I was. You were there at night a lot. I was going at night a lot. And I remember that was one of my first thoughts is that I saw you had gotten your black belt, and I saw you pulling up blue belts and purple belts and whatnot. And like, this is kind of where your game should be. You're not there right now. Like, let's work on these drills. Let's work on these movements and whatnot, which is really cool. It's a good lesson to learn. Yeah. I remember like specifically there's another like really good purple belt we have at the team. And he's like, I can't wait to like lead people like you do one day. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm like, there's people looking at you right now that you don't know. You know what I mean? Like, don't think that just do what you do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, before anybody like cared what I had to say or I was still just myself. Yeah. Nothing's changed. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I've fine-tuned things and become better in certain ways. Like, especially like communication style.
Yeah.
Like, especially being a dad, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
it's a little different too.
Developing patience and
Yeah.
understanding like,
well,
tempo.
like you mentioned too, I mean, like jiu-jitsu is a lot different than the college wrestling room.
Mhm.
I mean, you've got people that are 50 years old and people that are 15 years old, you
Mhm.
know, like it's just a wide spectrum of people. So,
Mhm.
I mean, and everybody's got different goals. So that's kind of hard to contain,
Mhm.
you know. You've had such a successful journey in jiu-jitsu, obviously. And like guys like me, or guys like the purple belt that you talked about. I mean, they see somebody that's been promoted on the podium. They see all of these successful competition accolades, doing really well on the mats, college wrestling, all of that other good stuff. Did you ever have any periods where you kind of just wondered if this is for you? Like where like, hey, or was it just, hey, I love this stuff and like, I'm not worried about it?
Nah.
That's
no,
awesome. Man. That's cool.
I was pretty much hooked from day one.
That's
to
cool.
be honest with you. Like, I mean, I think I kind of had my table stakes wrestling from like the age of 5 to, you know what I mean? Like 20, 21, whatever, you know, but like, you know, like I was definitely apprehensive and like,
that's a long time to be off. I mean, that's what, 5 years or so being off the mats.
But I had physical stuff. You know what I mean? Like I was always active still. It wasn't wrestling shape, but like I always made like goals for myself. You know what I mean? Like the last one that I did before I started jiu-jitsu, it was like right when I started jiu-jitsu. I started in March of, what was it, 2016, I think. I can't remember the exact year. I'm not good with years. It all flies by. But
going like, back to the intro, we don't like years.
Yeah, right. So my last goal was I wanted to stay under 200 pounds, like which I am now. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't test myself till the end of the year. And I wanted to bench press 300, squat 400, and deadlift 500.
When was this goal?
This was, what was I, 27?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
and I was just like, but I had never focused like wrestling and playing football, gaining, losing, never being focused on something. I never like put a goal into things, but like I would I did a ton of running, you know what I mean? Like, so I was always active. I'd always set I'd always set goals for myself, like something that kept me up, like kept me planning, kept me moving. You know what I mean? Like I would go run, you know, like 75 to 100 miles a week sometimes. Like just,
that's a pretty hefty,
maybe not set. Okay. So not 70, probably 50 to 75, but like I would go, like my wife would get mad cause she like loved running at the time, and I'd like just pick up and be like, I'm going to go run, and I'd like go do 10 miles. You know what I mean? Like just awesome. Like, I still do that now. Like I don't like to run, but like, I'll do it every once.
Nobody likes to run. If people that say they like to run, they're liars.
I've started to, it's funny. The thing that I liked when I did Murph this last time, it was the first time I'd ever done it with a plate vest. I've actually picked up I really like doing, I think it's actually could be helpful for jiu-jitsu, running with a plate vest, like for distance, but don't take your time. Just like, it really helps control your breathing because you've always got that pressure on your chest and stuff. And I was doing that last summer, and I was like, there might be something to this of like, not running as long, but throwing some extra weight on yourself to like, you know, put yourself in a little bit more of an uncomfortable position than just like free flowing. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. I've never done Murph with the vest. I don't think I could do 100 pull-ups with 25 pounds or whatever it is. I'd have to really break it up. I struggle to get the 100.
You'd be surprised.
That's what everybody
You're
says.
You're strong. Yeah, right. You're one of the guys where I'm like, man, I can't get his grips off of me. It's funny.
My hands might be strong, dude. There's a lot of weight to pull up, man.
But no, so like I've never really stopped. You know what I mean? Like I just happen to not find that passion yet.
Gotcha.
But like, and so going back to like what we were talking about when I was bouncing and everything. So I knew some people like, and so I would wear my Drexel wrestling shirt, or, you know, my like for Phillipsburg wrestling shirt. And my buddy would come in the gym, and he knew all these guys. Cause like, he knew the Drexel wrestler. Some of my teammates like would go bounce with him at a different bar down in a different part of the city. Like we never like crossed paths, but we knew all the same people. And he's like, man, you got to come in and train. And he's like, he was a savage. He still is a savage. He won, for Megan knows him. He's like, he won Nogi Pans as a black belt his first year, as a black belt. So he's like super good. But like, he like tried to talk me into it. Once I got in there, it was like, we did Nogi, just an open mat Nogi. And they like, it was just straight wrestling for an hour. Like I was dead, you know what I mean? Crazy. And he's like, okay, now you got to come back tomorrow and put the gi on. I'm like, oh, you got me. I was like, yeah, I got sucked in. And
that's what it was then, huh?
Yeah. And honestly, it's been like, ever since, it's been like, I'm not, some people think I'm crazy. I don't like I definitely have, I don't have times where not anymore, where I'll train like 5 days a week getting ready for something, or that's how my schedule lines up. But like I've always been like consistent. The only time I didn't train, or this is important for everybody, if you are injured and you're not sick, go watch.
Yeah.
Go watch.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree.
Like there was like, COVID was the only time where I took a couple months off. Just my wife was pregnant at the time, and I just wanted to let the couple of the cards fall.
Yeah.
Before,
COVID's a different animal, man.
But I mean, I started back. The reason I started for Mika's was because he was the only one doing solo classes in the area.
Really?
You know what I mean? And I was like, hey, would you mind if I stopped and I just want to put my gi on?
How long were you in Dallas? I mean, when did you actually come to DFW?
I think it was, again, the years.
I mean, it was before COVID, obviously.
Yeah, it was right before COVID. I think it was August 1st, 2018.
Oh, okay.
Because then like COVID kind of hit like a year and a half later.
Okay.
Like
were you already training locally before you found Formiga?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was at like an affiliation gym to my old gym in Philly.
Cool.
Then so Jared had given me I was a purple belt when I came down. He gave me my brown belt when I was down here.
Yeah.
And then so I had basically like started solo classes over there, and some things worked out as they did, and basically, you know what I mean? Like I became one of Formiga's students. So,
yeah, that's great. Yeah. Small world. So I know belts are, obviously, as you mentioned, you just put your head down and freaking grind. That's the wrestler mentality. But you got promoted to black belt by Formiga on the podium at one of the most prestigious events that we've got in our sport. I mean, what did that mean to you?
Honestly, like that's the thing is like the color of the belt meant nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's all the symbolic.
It's more symbolic than it is skill.
Yeah.
Right. Because we've got some savage purple belts that give me problems.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like that's
so glad to hear you say that.
But at the same time, there's like a responsibility to it that I
Yeah.
think sometimes gets lost. You know what I mean? Like, the thing that meant the most, like Formiga, like that's the thing that was kind of like, I didn't expect it that day at all. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
really?
I there were people that were like, when are you getting your black belt? When are you getting your black belt? I don't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care. Like I respected the black belts because that's how I was taught. You know what I mean? Like they're usually the ones that put in the most time, whether it's with jiu-jitsu or all the other things they've done to put them in a complete package to be a black belt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I happen to be a wrestler. You know what I mean? Like that helped my path. It helps accelerate it if you let it. You know what I mean? But I know a lot of wrestlers who get stuck in their own ways and, I never really progress. But like for Formiga, you know what I mean? Like I was his student for 6 months.
Yeah.
We like literally, I didn't even know who Formiga like was. Everyone talked about him, right? Like everybody talks about him.
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean? But like, of course I knew like,
how did you find him? I mean, you were all the way out in Cronce.
I was not desperate, but like I just wanted to put my gi on.
Yeah.
Like I really like, and I tell people now, I'm like, when you complain about like you being tired or you being, this or that, like I remember the days like where like I was, even during COVID, I got in the best shape of my life. You know what I mean? I cleaned up everything.
Yeah.
That was when I found out my son was coming. So like, that was like one of those points in time where like we all talk about, especially like the dads at the gym, like that was like the time where I like had time to actually, like I said, I wasn't traveling. I had a lot of time to quote unquote myself and being with my wife. And I'm like, what's the type of dad I want to be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, what do I need to fix to like make that possible? And like that, like changed everything.
Yeah.
You know
that
what
mentality
I mean?
shift.
And I started cleaning up, like, not like I was but like becoming more disciplined, making like even less excuses, you know what I mean? Just little decisions here and there that like just put me into hyperdrive. You know what I mean? And like, for sure, you know what I mean? Like that, just some of those things, you know what I mean?
That'll flip a switch, man.
Yeah.
I remember even like 23 years ago.
You can't explain it.
Yeah, you can't. You're not a dad, and then you are. So like, I just don't know if I'm ready or not. Trust me, you will be. Because that day, something's going to be different. Something should be different. It was for me.
Yeah. You got to make the decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to sign the contract.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what do you want to do? You know what I mean? Like, and that's like, but that was like one of those things, you know what I mean? Going back to like getting my black belt, like it means a lot. Like it does mean a lot. Like I didn't know who Formiga was. Everyone spoke so highly of him, but like I went there and then like, I think it was like a week or two after, like even just doing this. So I hadn't even trained with him yet. Cause like I truly like, I let my wife kind of like say when she was comfortable me going like with people and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm one of those people where I'm like, I love jujitsu, but like, and it's taught me a lot, but I don't like need it. Like I've seen it ruin people's lives as many I've seen it fix people's lives.
Really?
You know what I mean? Like just, going too far deep into it.
Yeah.
It's not like,
it needs to be balanced.
You need to be balanced.
It's 100%.
You need to be balanced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, sometimes you're going to be way more focused, but sometimes you got to pull your head out of it and like go realize that like jiu-jitsu is not your therapy. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? It can help lives, but you can't just think that only jiu-jitsu is going to save lives. You know what I mean?
That's 100% right, man. And that's part of what I thought about when we put this podcast together, is because there's just going to inevitably be times when you need to pull back. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that like the problem with jiu-jitsu is like when you do take off, it's hard to come back. It's like, dude, this is going to be horrible. I like Monday is going to be my day.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I don't want to go, but I do, and it's not that it's not fun. It's just that, you're not going to be where you were. And Anthony's been there. Oh my God, man, I'm starting to catch up a little bit. And I know he kept going or whoever your favorite training partner is, but that's just the way it needs to be. And, it's funny that you said that, because I hadn't really thought of it from that perspective, because some people don't make those choices.
But like, I wasn't even sparring yet, right? So like, I was just watching, and like, they would have their sparring and I would go watch. Like, again, like I was a brown belt, right? And then everybody wanted me to train, but I'm like, no, I respect, like, my wife's my biggest teammate. I tell people that, like, I wouldn't be capable of like any of this stuff, like, if we didn't communicate well.
Had you guys already had your son at this point when you started at Formigas?
No, she was like 6 months pregnant.
Oh, really?
So that's why we were like kind of careful. And then, but like 2 weeks in, like I'd watch him train with other people. I'm like, obviously he's good. And like, I like search him on YouTube, and it's just like hammer. And like Formiga's fighting all of them. Like, damn, like, like, you know what I mean? But then like, to get the respect of somebody like that, to like, that's a big thing to like somebody's so well respected, to get a black belt from somebody like that.
For sure.
It's like, nobody should take that lightly. You know what I mean? Anybody that gets like,
it's good advice.
You know what I mean? Like, some people think that it's easier once you get better, but like, it depends on if you're a real black belt or not. Like, the real black belts, like, you become the example. You don't get to slack off when you become like the leader. You know what I mean? Like, you, not just some of the time, like showing up on time. You know what I mean? Like, being disciplined. Like, martial arts about discipline. You know what I mean? Like, there's a sport to it and stuff, but like, you're missing the point if all you're doing is just the sport. Yeah. You know what I mean?
If you're a full-time black belt, there is a lifestyle element that goes with that. Yeah. It's a responsibility. Yeah. And it's funny that you bring it up like that, because, and this isn't 100% unique to Formigas, but I have seen other schools that don't do this. And we've probably, since I've been there, we've probably had, I'm just going to guess, I don't know, I might be off by a couple, but like 10 black belts that have been that have been promoted. Less. Yeah. Okay. So let's say 5.
Because I think, this last group on,
we had a big one.
It was like, it was super cool. Cause up until that point, I think it was just myself and Mark. And both of us, the only reason quote unquote that we got it was because Formiga has a rule: if you win worlds, you go to the next belt.
Maybe you're right.
And the only reason we got black belts, not the only reason, but like, the trigger is like his like end all be all, right? If you win worlds, you go to the next one.
That's
fair.
What I mean? That's a fair point.
Especially I don't know the rule, because like, it's Formiga. Like, I don't know if it's no-gi world champion, I don't know if he's going to promote you on the podium automatically. But if you win it in the gi, then it's like that's it.
You're probably right then,
because I think it's like
you and Mark
close to 10.
Then we had a big group in this last round, and then we just have people that keep winning worlds. So that's kind of set. Well, so those were no-gi worlds. So there you go. Out in California, the most recent one.
That's true. Yeah.
But like, everybody has had that mentality. Just like, I'm back. It's Monday. Whatever. I got a new belt. Yep. I'm honored, and I'm here training. Let's go. Yep. Like, I'm no different, and that's super cool, man.
And we want to be there.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be there. Yeah. It's like one of the biggest. I've learned so much about thanks to Formiga. You know what I mean? Like, he's a coach's coach. Like, he's like everything I've asked him about the gym, he's told me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like in terms of like just kind of helping you get started and, the next chapter and whatnot.
Anything.
That's awesome. Man.
Anything I have a question about, he's like this. If I'm not sure about something, and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
That like they've like Rodrigo was mentioning, right? Like he's like the big brother, you know what I mean?
Man,
like
for sure.
And like not just that, but like
people like that.
And not just that, but like you go to any jiu-jitsu circle and like you say his name.
Yeah.
He's got beautiful jiu-jitsu and he's a great person.
Yeah.
Like you could ask anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that like, to have a leader like that, you know what I mean? Like for all of us, a lot of people in our gym don't realize like,
if this is your first exposure to it, I can see that.
Go cross train like all over the city. You know what I mean?
Pick it, and you can
no
end
offense,
up in
but like
100%. No
Formiga's,
offense.
Formiga's Formiga, man.
Yeah.
Like there's something special that he creates.
100%.
You know what I mean?
And what's cool is, and he brought this up on the podcast, is he got it from Dedeco, because Dedeco's the same way, man. He just has that same mentality and a really good way of making you feel comfortable and valuable, and like. It sounds kind of silly, but I mean, there's really something to it, and it makes you want to emulate that.
But like it's the humility of it.
Yeah.
And I've said it before. It's like it's
backed by action too. I mean, that helps, right? Obviously.
Well, he's like one of the examples, right? Like when I was cleaning things up, like that COVID time, like when I was getting ready for Worlds, like I want to win Worlds. Like there's this, and for me, I've told it a million times. Like he was like, hey, I'm gonna start doing treadmill sprints every Saturday morning before open mat.
Dang.
This is when we had nothing else to do besides train, right?
Okay, that makes more sense.
We're going to do treadmill sprints before open mat UN. And I'm like, I think I'm good. Like I got my strength and conditioning, like my wind feels good. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I need it or not, but Formiga's won a bunch of world championships. And if I want to do that, I probably should take his advice.
Yeah.
And it's only for a couple of weeks. So what do I have to lose, right? Like, so I got my butt in there every Saturday morning, and you know what I mean? Like I got my sprints done, you know what I mean? I don't know if it helped or not, but mentally for sure, when I showed up that day, it was like, it's mine to lose. You know what I mean? Like it's not, am I going to win?
You're part of an ecosystem there.
It creates a trigger in your brain. Like you stop thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you stop double thinking everything. Like you just go, you know what I mean? Like it's crazy. Yeah,
no, it's a good. I mean, coach is a good way to put it. And we had a meeting one day, and it was just for Mika and I, and we sat down, and I said, look, man, you're my coach, and I just want to lay out my goals for you, you know. And I mean, it was one of the most productive jiu-jitsu meetings I've ever had. I've had good coaches too, man. Like down in Florida, I had some really good mentors down there as well. But like, you know, I really appreciate the time that we spent kind of just laying, some of them were personal goals too, you know, like things that I want to do long-term with jiu-jitsu and like, look, you might think they're crazy. Like, no, not at all. Like, let's just work on a plan, you know, you know, it's good to kind of embrace that.
And I've spent like, I'm so blessed. I tell a lot of my closest friends, like, I don't know how I got here. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea how I got here. Like, sometimes it feels like luck. Sometimes it feels like it meant to happen. But like, just like, look at Formiga. Not just is he a coach's coach, but he's a learner too. Like, he has the humility. Like, if he's not the expert on the topic, he's okay to give up the wheel. Yeah. He's asked me about, you know, like little stupid stuff about like, hey, how do you do this? Like when it comes to like business stuff, you know what I mean? Cool. Like, I know how do you do that? Like
he's done it for jiu-jitsu too.
But but I think it's that humility. I think it's that humility of like that's why like it's emulated like from in their own ways, right? From like Dedeco to him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like in their own humility ways, that humility, you know what I mean? To be the sponge. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even though you think you're full, still be the sponge type of thing. You know, like that's everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and we have such an amazing group. Yeah. We do. Dude, we seriously do. Like I say all the time, like my kid is so blessed. You know what I mean? Like whatever he wants to be in life, we have it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like everybody's together. Yeah. You know what I mean? Recently, I mean, just kind of as a little bit of a segue, and speaking of longer term goals, I mean, you've kind of dove into the world of gym ownership. I mean, done something that a lot of people want to do, but a lot of people don't do, and that is start a business. Mm-hmm. And you founded Eclipse BJJ and Grappling Academy up in Cronce. Mm-hmm. Was this part of a longer term plan? Was it opportunistic? I mean, how did this come to be? Again, like it was always a dream, but I didn't think it would ever happen. Sorry. So it's something you were thinking about when you were younger? Like I said, since I've been 18. No kidding. You know what I mean? Like it's weird because it started off as like the athlete development, functional training stuff. Like but like
kind of like some of the functional fitness you see out there.
It was like before CrossFit, but not as much like Olympic based lifting. We have like, I know how to get people strong. You know what I mean? Like,
I've seen some of your videos, man.
You know what
I might actually have to come up and see you.
Like I don't, and it's nothing special. You know what I mean? It's just like tapering it back a little bit, doing like functional movements that make sense. You know what I mean? Like, building athletes, not just building like a jiu-jitsu star or a football star or you know what I mean? Like balance. Again, balance, right?
Like, dude, balance is key, man. It like straight up is.
It just makes it so if you're balanced, you can pivot at any time. But if you've got all your eggs in one basket, like when you need to be versatile, you can't be.
Yeah. Well,
what if you're just a guard puller?
Yeah.
How are you going to sweep and get on top and not get swept back?
Yeah. What if you're a guard puller and you hurt your hip?
Right.
You know, or you hurt your left knee. Like I spent a lot of time on my back, and I hurt my left hip, and I couldn't use that anymore. And it was like, man, that's a problem.
It's funny.
Like,
I actually
magnified a weakness that I've got, which is everything else.
It's funny because I had it in my notes too. Like that's like one of those things I think that helped me, like getting out of like wrestler mode is like right when I got my blue belt, I was getting ready for Nogi Pans, and like a total freak, like non-contact accident. I was like just wrestling. Yeah. And my knee went out, my foot went out, my toes went out, my knee went in, and I like basically like doubled back. Like I took like a fake shot, and like my knee went in, and my ankle, like it sounded like a gunshot.
No kidding.
And I was like, here we go. Yeah. Knock on wood, I've still never had to get a surgery. Like I think it's the thing to be able to like, I pull off when I feel the injuries coming. And like I couldn't fit my foot in a Nike Free. No like kidding. Like a loose
one of the
shoe.
Most flexible shoes.
A loose shoe. I couldn't fit my foot in it.
Wow.
So I spent about 6 months literally just playing guard, not sweeping, retaining guard for 6 months. Yeah. That's why I said like the first month where I like literally couldn't even move my foot. Like I tried to tape it for Nogi Pans, but like I like tried to test it, and I was like, I couldn't even walk. I was like, no, you know what I mean? But like, I spent a month just going in and watching. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Were you a big guard guy before? I mean, it wouldn't strike me as a big guard guy, even though, I mean, you've got a really good guard, but I mean, that's just not where I see you most of the time.
Oh, that's the thing. Like competition wise, like I like to wrestle and be on top, but like I'm comfortable everywhere. Yeah. You know, but that's what
it forced you to get there.
What forced me to not just beat up people being wrestling. I always say like you're going to get to about a mid purple belt level just being a good wrestler. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like once you learn like as a competitor, you know what I mean? Like when you're trying to like if you're a wrestler, you're going to be competitive, right?
Yeah, so you're going to get 2 points.
Right. But like then what?
Yeah. Right. Well, in blue belt and purple belt, maybe it's not as important, you know, but I can see once you get beyond that. Yeah. Then what?
Yeah. Then what? You know what I mean? Like when you've got other athletes that also know jiu-jitsu, like it's over.
And maybe wrestling too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it forced me to like really just play guard. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that balance of it.
So let's talk about Eclipse a little bit, and we can kind of come and ebb and flow here a little bit. But it was a part of a longer term plan, right? Obviously, since you were 18 years old. I mean, like, why now?
It's just been a plan in the making for a long time. Like, it's just like, it's like kind of like, I'm going to jump right on what Rodrigo said, right? Like I was kind of taking notes and listening to, we all have it's the same message in a lot of ways, like patience and consistency. Like I've had the vision in the back of my mind since I was 18. I've had it on paper for 3.5 years. Like before I even like, could I make this work? Can I learn? You know what I mean? Like I don't really have like, besides jiu-jitsu, I don't have a whole bunch of like hobbies I like to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I spend time at home. Like I play some video games and like, now I got the gym, right? Yeah, but like before I was like, I'd take some of that time and be like, I started a spreadsheet. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and started learning, started asking questions, started looking at the business side, looking at rates, like understanding how real estate works. You know what I mean? Like understanding all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like
it's a deep pull.
But it's also been helpful. Like I have the business side, like I have the experience understanding like how to budget. You know what I mean? Like I'm very, very smart with like financially, like I don't need much, but like I don't need much, you know what I mean? And like, so I know like and that's the thing, like even about our gym, like it's nice. I love our gym. You know what I mean? I love everything about it. It's like everything I've ever wanted, but it's like, it's all built, and it's all built from scratch.
Yeah.
We didn't hire anyone to do the build out. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
Like,
you did it?
Yeah.
Dang,
and it's
cool,
kind of
man.
a crazy story, but like how kind of all unfolded. But like going back to that thing, it was just like, I've had it on paper for 3 years and I've been asking, literally like ask for Miga since I've gotten my black belt, about like maybe a couple months after, because like some things that happened, I was just like, started asking questions and like started like really like focusing and dialing it in, and dialing it in. And so like
that's awesome,
the
man.
Patience, the consistency, and planning. Because we were talking about it a little bit before, like we popped the switch on, but like planning is everything. Yeah. Like, of course there's chaos and like things are going to change, but like when you have like a real setback, like you have to fall back on like a fundamental plan. You can't just fall back into like the open floor. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like just dropping a cup on the floor versus dropping it on or like a glass bottle off the floor versus onto the couch. The couch, hopefully it'll maybe shake up the soda a little bit.
Gives you a little bit of flexibility.
But
gives
like,
you something to fall back on.
If it hits the floor, it's shattered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
100%.
I need some soft landing spot. You know what I mean?
We go through it in business planning all the time, where it's like, look, this is what we're planning on doing next year. And by the way, none of this is going to happen. Right. You know, this is not what it's going to look like. This isn't how many people we're actually going to hire, but we're going to start with a plan. And then we're going to make micro adjustments. And if something big happens, then we're going to make a big adjustment, you know, and I think that's the way to go about it. Yeah. You know,
for sure.
So now that you've got an academy, some kind of advice questions, and this is going to be kind of a theme in the podcast, I think, in general, but like, and you don't even need to be an academy owner for this, but you've got new students that are walking in probably every day. First of all, what surprises have you had? I guess, you know, obviously you've wrestled for all of your life, man. You've been a part of these combat sports and whatnot, but it's probably a lot different. Suddenly you've got no students, and then you get your first one, then you start running your first classes. Any twists and turns that sort of took you by surprise, or was it just another day in the office?
Just another day in the office. It's all like, you know, like you I think you asked about like doubts and stuff like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I have doubts every day. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like, I don't let them stop me. Yeah. And it's like some need a solution that is longer than a second of thought. Yeah. And some are going to take months. Some might take years. Some might take one little like click, you know what I mean? And like, it's done. Yeah. It's all relative. You know what I mean? So like my planning helped me. Yeah. Again, my planning, like I had the business plan. I understood like just what I needed. Cause like truly like it kind of at this point, especially now, like I have a full-time job, you know what I mean? I've got an amazing, support system with my wife and, you know, with Formiga and Double Five and Joao, you know what I mean? And Daisy coming in, like helping with the women's classes, like helping our women's program a little bit. That ability to like, just plan. Mm-hmm. We did pre-signups. Yeah. I just wanted to see I just wanted to see if there's interest. Yeah. If there wouldn't have been interest, honestly, I was okay still coming down to Highland Village, competing, doing my thing, training jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I'm still on the mats. I'm still happy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like now I just get to give back more. That's cool. You know what I mean? Like to me, like,
did you guys just set out some surveys and stuff? I mean, how'd you gauge interest out there?
I just through some Google
word of mouth and stuff, or
honestly, I just got on some Facebook groups. And
no kidding.
Put some Google questionnaire together. Said like, you know, some basic demographic, not like nothing close to what, just like kids, adults, what time of day, no like kidding. Little stupid stuff to see. Cool. Like
I didn't know that.
And honestly, it kind of came back exactly how I expected. Like I was talking about with somebody the other day.
I wouldn't have even thought to do that. That's probably like a very basic step, but that just tells you how
you should see my Excel sheet.
Oh my God. I'd have PTSD.
I'm all over the place, man. I'm like,
that's awesome.
It's like a blessing and a curse, I guess. Yeah. I never turn it off, but like,
that's cool, man. Well, hey, look, like you said, you got to have a plan.
It's gotten me like everything I've like ever like wanted or prayed for, you know what I mean? So it's like, to me, like even on those hard days, like you're talking about with the doubt, you know what I mean? It's like, this is exactly what I asked for. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I signed the contract, like I said, you know what I mean? Like I said, I want to do this. Like, I made that thing. And so like, you can't put that on anybody else but yourself. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you can't like start blaming people around you. You got to just do it. You know what I mean? And like, believe in your plan. but look in the mirror, you know what I mean? And ask people around you and take constructive criticism if you're screwing up.
You've got some good folks around you for sure.
You have to.
The new white belts that walk in, right? And I've seen them. They've started to stack up. And actually, I hope I meet a couple tomorrow. I mean, we're all coming out to crash the morning session.
Yeah,
in the morning.
it's going to be sweet.
That will have already occurred by the time this is out. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
I was going to say, I don't think this is going to get published. But hey, if you want to come in at 6:30 on a Thursday morning, last one of the year, it's going to be a banger. It's going to be a good one. I got to stretch before this one, I think. So.
There's going to be a lot of folks out there. You don't need to worry about me. Don't need to stretch.
You're right.
But you got a couple people there that do a couple toe touches.
Yeah.
New white belt walks in. What do you want them to know before they hit your mats?
You're welcome here.
Yeah. It's a good feeling to have.
Number one.
And that's also unusual. Well, that's not unusual, but it's not the norm.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
There's
for
a
me,
lot of places that won't make you feel that way.
For me on the first day, like I told the kids, I told the teens, I told the adults, like, I don't care if you're a day one white belt, you're like the original group here. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like, awesome. I don't care if a 10th degree, whatever black belt comes in, you know what I mean? Some belt that doesn't even exist. Mm-hmm. You know how this place goes better than they do. Yeah. Make sure they're welcome.
That's cool.
Period. Number one, it doesn't matter.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
That's
like,
a good culture to build.
It has to be.
I respect that a lot.
You know what I mean? Like that's what keeps like, that's the vision. You know what I mean? Like it's a place for people to like enjoy. Yeah. It's, you know what I mean? Like I want families there. You know what I mean? Like I want people to look back and be like, you helped change my life, my family's life. You know what I mean? Like that's why I wake up.
That's
you know
awesome,
what I mean?
Man.
So it's cool. You know what I mean? Like
that's a cultural awakening, so to speak. And that's what creates stickiness, man. And I made that decision a long time ago. Like I'm not going to be around that because there is, obviously there must be people that kind of crave some of that. I shouldn't say toxicity, but I view it that way. Like I don't want to go into a place that's like, we're not happy till you're not happy. I mean, I could have done that in high school. Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't even like talking about it. Like for me, cause I love wrestling, or like I've loved wrestling. I love grappling. Like this is supposed to be something like, this is supposed to be skill building. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like this is supposed to like, why are we here? You know what I mean? Like you can go to a happy hour and like be negative. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like you're not learning a skill. You're not learning a skill complaining.
Yeah. It's a good, happy, welcome place. So you know a little bit about my story. I've talked about it on the podcast. There's a lot of other people that are like me. You set your place up in Cronce, and I'm sure that there have been a few people that have dusted off their blue belt or purple belt or whatever. Mm-hmm. The apprehension's there, I can tell you from experience. It's hard to get back on the mats, and for a lot of different obvious reasons, the most notable being I'm afraid that I'm not going to be any good. Mm-hmm. I won't have it anymore. My cardio won't be there, whatever the case may be. I mean, what do you tell those guys or girls?
Be an example to the white belts.
Don't get smashed or what?
No, but like I said, like it's not, the skill's going to come. You keep showing up, the skill's going to be there. You know what I mean? Like the aptitude for jiu-jitsu is going to be there. Like you might not be a black belt world champion. Yeah. You know what I mean? You might never win a match, but you'll learn the concepts of jiu-jitsu. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, that's more important than any medal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like to me, hold on a second. Like one of the things like, that's been like the thing I didn't like, you were talking about like things surprises to me about the school. Like this kind of ties it in is like, I didn't realize how fulfilling it was going to be. I didn't like every day. Yeah. Every single day. Somebody comes up to me and tells me something. Yeah. And I'm like, sometimes it's overwhelming. Yeah. I think, you know what I mean? Like that's one of the words that like kind of resonates a lot. Yeah. It's like, it's an overwhelming feeling to like,
it's a fact you're changing people's lives. And there's no question.
It's amazing. Yeah. I love it.
You might save people's lives actually.
Right. You know? I mean, they save their own lives.
Sure.
They have to choose to come in and do the work. Yeah. But like to even just be a support system of that is like, and like, not just me, not just Joao, you know what I mean? Not just Daisy, the whole group. Yeah. Like everybody's a part of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like every single person that comes in here is a part of that. Yeah. And that like, you should pat yourself on the back. Just like when somebody wins a medal, that's everybody's, you know what I mean? That's not mine. You know what I mean? Like, that's why we're back to work celebrating with our friends. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
That's how we celebrate. Go do it more. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole point.
Well, we've talked about that too, like in Highland Village, is that, you know, Formiga mentioned it on the podcast. Like, it's gotten to the point now where he doesn't need to say anything to anybody. I mean, when somebody new comes in, there's just a cultural expectation. I mean, you know the flag to carry, and you say that you're not saving people's lives, but I mean, the reality is, man, the environment that's there, I mean, it's helping people get on a path where, I mean, it is life altering. It's a fact. I mean, it's funny. I mean, you don't even need to be an instructor to see it, because I see it with so many of the guys that we train with, where like I can see the before and after from 6 months, and it's like, oh my God, man. And knowing some of the personal stories, and if I were to start digging in deep into my own, man, I mean, it's crazy.
It is. Like we were talking about, like kind of like what you prepped me for this thing. It dug up some stuff where I was like,
I'm sure.
You know what I mean? Like the stuff you just, I mean, the stuff you forget that you just kind of pushed this, you just did. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
we talked a little bit about injuries already, but I mean, on the topic of injuries, I've just been unfortunate over the last year or so that I've been fighting through some that have just keep coming back. I'm a big fan of watching. Like I think I've gotten so much out of that. But for your students, I mean, what is the message to them? I mean, those that feel inevitable, good luck. You inevitably will get banged up. But as a coach, what do you want them to know?
It comes back to discipline again. Like it's listen to your body. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, listen to your body. Come in and watch when you're injured, and have the discipline to not train and watch. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, have the discipline to not train. Yeah. And watch.
It's crazy that you
know what I mean? Because like I come in, like I hurt my shoulder bad. So I popped something, the semifinals of Master Worlds at Brown Belt, the day I won, right? Uh-huh. And there was a pop, like in a little exchange. And like, I finished a match. I won by judge's decision, thankfully. And then the finals came in, like, I didn't even like go talk to Formiga or whoever, the other guys that were there. But I was like just sitting there, just like I was in the zone that day. You know what I mean? I was like I don't want to lose this. You know what I mean? Dude. But I was like sitting there, and I like literally was just sitting back on my shoulder, because like I was just checking it. You know what I mean? Like, just because it pops. Like it wasn't good. I still don't necessarily know what exactly it did that day. But I checked it. It was stable enough for me to go. You know what I mean? Like, and I was like, this is it. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of already hurt at that point. It's like, you're there. It was serious. You know what I mean? Like, to the point with the next day, I couldn't take, I had to put my deodorant on. Like, I grabbed the desk and like had to like literally like squat down and like
move your body,
because I couldn't raise my shoulder up. And really? Like, it took me 3 months, you know what I mean, to have the discipline to just like, I didn't train, like, it was so crazy after that. It was kind of like our first Worlds as a team after COVID, you know what I mean? Like, and there's so many good performances, you know what I mean? Like, it was so much fun just to be there, like with the whole team.
Was it in Vegas?
No, it was where was it? Florida.
Was it in Florida?
Excuse me.
Okay, cool.
Been there. Was it like the Cowboy Arena or whatever, right?
Oh gosh, I don't remember, but I mean, that's where they did the Florida Wrestling Championships.
Yeah, that's where they usually do Orlando too, right? Like the Orlando Opens usually there and stuff. I think.
I assume so. Yeah.
But like, so it was bad. You know what I mean? And like, I got this endorphin rush. You know what I mean? I just won Worlds. You know, I got my black belt. I want to break this thing in. Your shoulder can
fall off for all you care at that point, right? Man. Like, but I'm like, leaving in Florida.
But I'm like, I need to do this right, because like I knew I wanted to compete. You know, I wanted to like keep testing myself. So I was like, I got to do this right. I got to take care of my body and have the discipline to like go get it checked up. Yeah. Rest. Let it like. My whole theory is like there's a lot of pain that comes from like inflammation, and it was really inflamed, obviously. You know what I mean? So like, I wanted to wait for that inflammation to go down for like a month, like 4 to 6 weeks, see how it felt. And then I actually went to a different chiropractor. I work with the, shout out to Dr. Christie from Merasti. He's like one of the Cowboys chiropractors, and my wife goes there too now. She was like steadfast on not going. She went, and literally like tears of joy came out of her, like after she had Nico. And like, he's a miracle worker, and he doesn't crack. He does like more muscle manipulation. Okay. He wouldn't even touch me. He's like, go get an MRI. He's like, you know what I mean? Even after the inflammation was down, I was like, you're the expert. I want to talk to you. He sent me to the STAR, and I got an MRI. And the bad news was I didn't hurt anything that day, but the good news was I didn't hurt anything that day. The bad news was there's a bunch of stuff junked up in there apparently.
Oh, really?
And
just
they
old
were like
school scar tissue that just was years and years of
everything.
Untreated inflammation.
Everything. Like it's not. They're like, he's like, you don't have any dislocation problems, like ever? I'm like, well, no.
You can't do a 2-handed push-up. I mean,
no, that was on the left side. Okay. So that was actually the other side, because that was the joke.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, yeah, dude, I kind of do have a couple problems.
He looked at me because like, I was kind of shocked when he was like reading off what happened.
Yeah,
like what they found, and I was kind of like blank, like confused. Uh-huh. He goes like, why do you look confused right now? I go, I thought that was my good shoulder. Like that was the one. And like, honestly, like I've taken pretty good care of myself now. Like I've made it, especially since like probably COVID brown belt. I fought on Cronce right before that. And Dr. Chrissy, that's when I first met him, to fix my hip, because they just get stiff from so much wrestling.
Yeah.
But he fixed me up like in a day to go fight when I fought Kevin Holland at, Kasai.
Yeah, man, you're gonna have to share that intel.
That was on
wherever this guy's at. I mean,
it's hard to get. My wife just went. It took him. I think he's had like a two week, like back. He's expensive. Like thankfully I have benefits like we were talking about.
Yeah, good insurance.
So like it covers my insurance covers it. But like, I mean, those two Humpty Dumpty me together when I jack things up between him and JB. I got an exoskeleton on me,
dude.
But when
just having the discipline to go and actually not train.
Yeah, going back to the injury, it was like, I need to take care of this. You know what I mean? Like my goal is always to go train tomorrow. Like I'll tap to an ankle lock, I'll tap to an arm bar, I'll tap to a Kimura. Like stupid injuries happen, right? Yeah. Like non-contact injuries happen, but like I might not tap out to a choke. I might go out. Like that's about, you know what I mean? But like joint locks, you win. You know what I mean? It's all good. You know what I mean?
Tuesday's more important. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
exactly. And like, that's always like my goal. So like, I like have the discipline to not train. Yeah. You know what I mean? Cause like, even like a lot of my white belts, and I tell them now, you know what I mean? Like they were doing 3 or 4 times. I'm like, listen to your body, to your body. And like, it's coming around the 4 or 5 month mark where everybody's been consistent. Yeah. Oh, this hurts. That hurts. I have cauliflower ear. I have this, I have that. And I'm like, you need to take care of it. Yeah. You need to take care of it so you can come train tomorrow. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like 3 days off is not time off. Yeah. A week and a half off is time off. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
people underestimate, man. Like first of all, there's a stigma, right? Some of it's self-imposed, and it does suck to sit and watch, right? It's not because jiu-jitsu is fun, man. It's a workout, but part of the fun about jiu-jitsu is that like it's such a good workout, but you don't even know it. Just like we talked about before we did the podcast. I mean, we went and trained, and we had 25 freaking people on the mat, and I looked up and I'm like, dude, I got to go. Yeah. I got to get some food and I got to shower up. Yep. And so it's hard to sit there and watch, but like I have gotten better personally, some of it out of just necessity, because if I don't, then I won't make it. And I've had some really candid conversations with Formiga about it. And if instead of taking a week off so I can heal up, I might just say like, man, we're doing De La Riva this week. I really want to get the exposure to it. I want to learn it. I can do the techniques, but I just can't spar. Yep. No big deal. It's a non-factor. You know, it's up to me to push myself and get the intensity levels that I need, or I'm going to get beat all the time. Right. Yep. So I have to balance that. I can't just use that as a cop out, but like people that think that it's not valuable to actually take a different angle to your training and see things differently, it's a good supplement. Yeah. You know, it really is.
And I like to even just like look, because like, especially from like somebody who like people were asking techniques, especially like people were asking me about wrestling techniques since I've been a white belt, right?
Yeah,
like
I'm sure,
but I never had the exposure to be able to be like, to actually like really coach or instruct. So like even to go and like watch how coaches communicate and like how they teach something, how they walk around their room and like help fix specific things with different people that have different flexibility issues, mobility issues, just can't understand the athleticism. Like nothing even crazy, but just like I call jiu-jitsu 4-dimensional twister. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like, put your right, like if you can understand, put your right hand on the shoulder, left foot on the floor, belly button to the ceiling, like it kind of like, you can kind of figure it out that way, right?
I guess, yeah.
That's
unfortunately, sometimes that's what you have to do.
You know, but like that, but go be a sponge. Yeah. Like, man, again, getting down to go with Wagner to go, like, just go hang out we weren't hanging out. We were doing a lot of work, but like go, you know, see all the things that he does. Like taking care of his
Did you go down to Florida and stuff? And
yeah, like for like 4 or 5 days. Like
down to Pembroke Pines, I guess is where.
It was Hollywood, Florida.
Hollywood,
that's where his academy is. But like I spent time with him going down to fight sports, working with like the strength and conditioning, explosive stuff, like all that stuff. Like, and I told him, I was like, this is the stuff like I've done before. Not necessarily these exact workouts. Like it's never the same, right? But like, I was like, yeah, this is the right stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and it was almost like, it was even like assuring though to like, but again, not just the jiu-jitsu, like to go hang out with Wagner and hang out with like Cyborg and like be a sponge. Cause that's the first, like my gym at that point had been open for like a month and a half. And Wagner's like, hey, can you get down here? And I'm like, things are kind of crazy, but can I come down for like a long weekend? He's like, absolutely, let's do it. So I went down and like spent so it was 4 days, but like it was 4 days of like just grinding, you know what I mean? But it was like, but at the same time, I'm a sponge. Like I'm looking at all this amazing stuff that Cyborg's got an amazing academy, and obviously Wagner, and they like
Miami Beach. I mean, you just couldn't ask for,
But the instruction, I'm talking about like the stuff on the wall. You know what I mean? Like the things that make like it an academy versus just like a gym. You know what I mean? Like I'm a sponge to that stuff. So like to just go and experience all that, like all the places I've gotten to train with Clark, Gracie, and in San Diego. I've gotten to go down to 10th Planet in Austin. I get to go like all these like renowned places. You know what I mean? And like I'm always a sponge when I go there. You know what I mean? And like not just to do the jiu-jitsu, but like how they teach. You know what I mean? Like how you communicate with different types of people. You know what I mean?
That's the challenge, man. I imagine for somebody that's got your background, I mean, having to deal with somebody who's an accountant during the day as opposed to who wants to be a world champion. I mean, it's just different,
Sales helps. I was going to actually mention that earlier because, like,
I'm sure.
I've been in sales since I was like 24, doing like pretty like
that's almost a cheat code.
You know what I mean? Like being forced through fire to like learn how to communicate with different people. And
half of sales is dealing with people you don't want to deal with anyway.
Honestly, like, but if you build a like, there's some people like I have some like tough cookie, like people that aren't even my customers anymore. Some people, like when you mention them in our industry, like that guy's so hard to work with. And I'm like,
every industry's got it.
But I'm like, we have a great relationship. You just have to meet them where they are. You know what I mean? Like you just have to be respectful, you know what I mean? And just have a little bit more patience maybe. But then when that guy goes to vouch for you somewhere and they're like, if he vouches for him, you know what I mean? Like he's good. Like you can trust him. You know what I mean? Like that's worth its weight in gold. Not that that's the intention, but like, think about that. You know what I mean? The hardest guy to get along with, you can come to a middle ground with that person. You know what I mean? Like, what does that say about your character? Think about it. Everyone loves Formiga, right? You think there's some people that like love him that like some people don't like?
Sure. Sure.
That's being patient. You know what I mean? That's being like meeting people where they are.
That's a good one.
You know what I mean? So to
compete or not to compete?
It's a tough one. I love competing. I love
this one was especially for you, man.
This
is new.
I miss it so much. I was talking to my wife about it today because
what do you tell a student?
It's not required, but you learn so much more. Not just about jiu-jitsu, but again, like going back to like I always play this game with myself. Like when I get nervous about like a competition, like I never get nervous anymore, but like kind of get some jitters. I'm like, what am I nervous about? I go like talk to some corporate guy, like, director or whatever, and work on these big projects, whatever, a couple $1 million, whatever it is. And like, I do the preparation, I do the work, I know my stuff, like, and I just do my job. Right. Like, so why am I nervous about this guy? Like nobody cares. I'm on these mats rolling around with these guys with a scoreboard and a clock, right? To get some fake medal. You know what I mean? Like realistically, that's what it is. And I have like MMA is different. You can't just hit a stop button and like, if somebody head kicks you, there's no stop button to that, right? Like jiu-jitsu, like relatively speaking, you can't get hurt doing it. So like worst comes to worst.
The physical fear should be
I tap, I lose, I move on to the next one, right?
But that is the fear, right?
Right. But then the opposite side of it, like with the competition is like, I get nervous about like work stuff. And I'm like, I go out onto a mat in front of a bunch of people where they try
you've got a kind of a two-sided.
It's like a dichotomy. You know what 100%. I mean? So it kind of like pulls me out of it of like,
that's cool. You survive the mats of competition. So surely this work issue mustn't be as, punishing as it might seem.
Like what's it's, you're not going to hurt my physical like
yeah,
being by like
right.
telling me no.
My wife
in a meeting.
isn't watching this meeting.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's like, so for me, it kind of plays into itself, but you
Yeah.
learn so much from competing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you do, especially like in the beginning, you know what I mean? Like don't put pressure on yourself. Like be prepared. That's the one thing I hate I shouldn't use the word hate. The thing that I really think is missed at a lot of academies is, and it's something like, so we're getting ready. We had some kids compete at the last World League here in Frisco.
Yeah.
And everyone did awesome. You know what I mean? But
that's quick. I didn't realize that actually. I didn't know you guys had already started getting out there and
we're getting after
dude,
it.
That's freaking awesome, man. Congrats.
But I've never pushed it. Like we never push it. You know what I mean? We never like.
A lot of kids, especially, actually want it.
Yeah,
you know?
But the adults did too. You know what I mean? Like when we were like, let's get it together. You know what I mean? Let's get everybody comfortable.
Yeah.
And I hate how. I'm sorry. It's missed.
It's okay to hate it.
It's missed that the lack of real preparation. A competition isn't just about doing jiu-jitsu that day.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the preparation.
Yeah.
It's I pack my gi the day before. I make sure I have my extra gi the day before. I lay my underwear out. I have almost like I'm going to a work meeting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Cause like I know the rules.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure my belt fits right. I make sure, you know what I mean? Like I make sure the details are right. Yeah. So that when I go, and that I think it's also a reason why I don't necessarily like the weight cutting thing. Yeah. I want to just worry about competing on that day. Yeah. On that day. But the competition's more than just that day. Yeah. It's getting ready for the competition, not physically or mentally, but like making sure you know the rules. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like knowledge is physically, mentally, and then like the knowledge of it. Yeah. What are the points? You know what I mean? Like not even necessarily like worrying about who you're fighting, but just knowing like you don't give them a chance to actually enjoy competing if you don't prepare them before the competition. Yeah. It's so chaotic in there. You don't have time to sort all that stuff out. If you don't know, how do I get my first 2 points seriously, by the time you get there, you should be nervous. And I don't care. Like when people are like, oh, I didn't know that was a rule. You're not ready. If you've gotten disqualified for something and you don't know why, and then you're like, oh, that's a stupid rule. I didn't know that was a rule. Shame on you. Then that's on you. 100%. And don't sign up for that competition because you're basically making an excuse. Definitely don't be mad about it. You know what I mean? Like, don't be that's stupid. You can't heel hook. Like, you signed up to the rules. Yeah, there's other especially now. It's a hyperlink on the website. I mean, like it's so easy. It's so accessible, and you have good black belts everywhere that can teach you. I mean, like if that's the time when you're complaining about it, then. Yeah, you just failed to prepare. So think about it. You know what I mean? Like you got a white belt that doesn't know the rules, just paid $100 to go into this competition and gets disqualified because their belt doesn't fit right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying that it's not right. I'm not saying that the rule sets aren't right. Yeah. Again, you sign up for the rule set, right? Like that's on you. 100%. But that other part of it of like, it's not fair to you never gave them a chance just because of the fact that you're the coach. Yeah, right. It's on you. You're the coach. They represent your academy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, a lot of what you just described too. I mean, like knowing the rules and everything. I mean, should I say should be? I shouldn't assume that. But there's some gray areas too. Like I'm not talking about advantages. I'm talking about like the basics of the fundamentals of like getting on the mats. There's some self preparation elements of that. But the other elements that you laid out, like making sure that you're ready. Like, hey, by the way, you might want to bring a second belt because sometimes they kind of ding you on silly stuff. And that happened in Waco. Like one of our guys, his brown belt was too faded. And so like I had an extra one in my bag and gave him. But like that happens sometimes, that right there, having a good coach, having somebody that can help prep you for some of those types of things, like the night before and even diet stuff and things like that. I mean, like that's next level, you know? But you should have the realistic thing is like my students, we're going to do the World League. I think it's like February 4th or something like that. Like we've been talking about for months now. So we're not cramming. They're all being consistent on their training. Yeah. So now we're like, you all got belts that fit, right? You know what I mean? Like, you guys know the rules. We'll call them out in class, like if they're gripping the pants, like under the pants, like just so you know that's a penalty. You know what I mean? So you understand, like, And of course, like some of those things get like the rules, like when you're rolling with somebody, they're like you're not allowed to grab inside the pants, but you got to explain why. You know what I mean? Like to have that preparation of like understanding these little like you might grab it by accident in a competition, but at least then you can be like, oh yeah, I knew that, I screwed up. You know what I mean? Right. Versus I didn't know that was a rule. And that's why I lost. You know what I mean? Like It's simple things. It's just like little details of like laying that out. You know what I mean? Like it's easy.
Yeah.
You just have to be prepared for it.
It's interesting. Like I wish I had asked or heard that response a year ago, because I was never a big competitor. Like years ago when my kids were little, we all competed together. I was there anyway. And so, you know, that's kind of what we did on the weekends. And then I just sort of came off of it for a long time. And I said I wouldn't do it again. But then I just started getting the itch and didn't really have any expectations. I'm not going to get a scholarship. I'm not going to be the next greatest thing or anything like that. But it's fun being there as part of the team and all this others. The unexpected twists that I picked up, and this is probably something that's really obvious to somebody like yourself, but like I had 2 matches. I lost both of them. I lost one by points, the other by points too, actually. And what's crazy about it is like the first match, I just gave up a lot of size, and I eventually kind of lost the battle and got smashed. The second one though, on paper, should have been just fine. And the cool thing about IBJJF is that you will probably get a match of somebody that's your belt level, your age, and your size. That's what's awesome. So if you want to test yourself, then it's a great opportunity to see what else is out there.
Yep.
And if this was just a normal round on a noon class, I would have been like, okay, you know what? I felt really good about that. I was the aggressor, you know, but I lost 2-0 because I didn't prepare myself properly for how the takedown works. I pulled guard and I guess he touched my legs or something like that, and he got 2 points for it. I didn't even realize it until it was almost over. And when the lesson to learn there was that like my mindset totally changed. I'm like, man, I need to prepare myself in those noon rounds of like, I need to start keeping score. I need to be cognizant of all this stuff. And it has changed the way that I've rolled since then. In a good way, not like in an overly unhealthy hyper focus, but like I just wouldn't have learned that if I hadn't gone out there and thrown myself out there. Win, lose, I wasn't really too bothered, but obviously I want to win, you know, but like the lesson that I learned was way more important than a medal or anything like that.
For sure. One of the things that like I help, like, especially with the kids, I try and calm them down when they're like, they get emotional, you know what I mean? like even before, you know what I mean? Like not even that they're nervous, but like they're kind of excited. They're like, don't know what's about to happen, especially like their first competition, right?
Imagine,
and I'm like, I just tell them, like, you're going to be okay. We're there. And you're just speeding this all up because there's a clock and a scoreboard on the wall. That's cool. Like that's literally all we do this every day. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like in our room, like this isn't for the kids, it's for the adults, right? In our room at Highland Village, you're not going to find anybody that like is going to like necessarily outclass you. Like you're not going to be surprised. Nothing's going to show up out of the blue. There's everything at our gym. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
you got a wide array.
You know what I mean? Like think about the training partners we get every day.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like that, you're not going to get surprised by anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Wrestlers, guard passers. Yeah. Any guard you can pretty much
big guys,
talk about.
Small guys, long guys, short guys,
everything.
You know, body types, skill levels. I mean, yeah.
You're accelerating it all in your mind. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like literally it happens just as fast. It happens just as fast in the room as it does on the competition mats. Yeah. So act like it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
So it's you know, it helps like, oh, okay, this is just another day. You know what I mean? Like, of course you put some pressure on yourself, but you want to perform well. But like at the same time, it's like, it's just another day. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, dude, let's talk about Eclipse a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, tomorrow I'm kind of looking forward to it. Yeah. I'm starting to get a little butterflies. You know,
it'll be fun. It's going to be fun.
That's awesome. And we seriously though, dude, I think we have like 7 people coming.
That's going to be sweet.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah. I love morning class. What is the long-term plan here, man? I mean, you've got Joao is kind of your right-hand man.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the man. Dude. I'm so lucky to have him. Yeah. I'm so lucky to have him.
People underestimate. I said this about Rodrigo as well. First of all, Joao is, I think he's like 21, 20, something like that. Dude, he's like, okay, he's here in the United States. We're from America. Think about that. I mean, imagine if you sent your 19-year-old son down to Brazil, you know, 2 continents away from home, away from everything that's familiar, you know, and then into an environment of literal daily simulated murder, you know, and, you know, that's a big putt for somebody like him. It's amazing what he's doing.
But you could tell, like, I mean, I could pretty much tell from day one, he's about that life. Because like for me, like awesome, I see, like, you know what I mean? Like I said, like, I've been around the best athletes. I've been around world champions. I've been around whatever, you know what I mean? Like just high level athletes, especially like grapplers, right? Like you could be good naturally, but like to be on our, like my whole thing is same, all of us, right? Yeah. I want everybody at our gym to want to be there. Yeah. That includes Joao, right? Yeah. So, and I knew Joao, like there's some times like when he's been getting ready for like, especially Nogi Pans and Nogi Worlds, this like he's been working hard like he always does, right? He looks tired. I'm like, man, like I can take adults class, go home early, go rest, go hang out with Daisy, you know, whatever. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm staying. Like I want to be here. Yeah. I'm like,
that's awesome.
And I'm not even checking him, right? Yeah. I'm just like, I got it from here, bro. You can go, you know, get an extra hour's rest, you know, go relax, get ready for training tomorrow. Right. And he's like, no, I want to be here. And then he's so crazy. I like go pull up my Instagram to decompress at the end of the day, and he's lifting after it. I'm like, you are out of your mind, bro.
I can tell he's been lifting.
But he's just like, and that's the thing, like for a 20-year-old to be like that disciplined, like those are the people that like, I like when I was his age, to have somebody to like, not old, but like old enough to be somewhat a little bit more maybe along the quote unquote path than him. Yeah. To be like, come with me, let's do this. You know what I mean? But like, it's all him. The only reason I asked him is because he's him. Like he's got that. He's got stuff you can't teach. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's got stuff like I said, like I'm doing the extra. Yeah. He's doing the extra. Those are the people that I want around me. You know what I mean?
When did he start training down in Brazil?
He's only been training 7 years. Like that's the funny part. Like the two of us, like the pretty good. The level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand at the level that he's at, you know, like it seems like he might have been training for 20 years, but 7 years, that's a healthy chunk of life.
But he never grappled before that.
Yeah.
Like I asked him
because he was in his diapers.
Because I think
I mean, 7 years is like half of his life, man.
You better be careful. You're gonna see him soon at noon class.
That's not a knock, man. That's like the reality.
Yeah,
but like he's a young guy, you know.
And I think because I think his dad is a black belt in like lucha libre or something.
Oh, no kidding.
But like so like I thought he had a grappling background. You know what I mean? But he literally like never like really did any. That's maybe crazy, a little judo like when he was a kid. Like it seems like judo's popular as a sport like,
it's like
in Brazil
option.
Like early like 5, like that's like the karate of the 5 and 6 years old. Yeah. You know? But
I think that, I mean, there is a heavy Japanese influence down in Brazil.
Yeah. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Even though you don't like, you kind of forget about it because you don't live there, but that is true. Yeah. Especially in like jiu-jitsu culture, right? So
sure.
But yeah, so like I mean, yeah, the next 5 to 10 years is just kind of like,
yeah, dude, he's somebody to watch out for.
I don't want to call my shots per se, but like I tell my team and I tell like my students like kind of what the general plan is, because like it makes me accountable. So like, you know what I mean? Like I want people that hold me accountable. You know what I mean? Like I want that. You know what I mean? Like that's so they can see that they can hold themselves accountable to stuff. You know what I mean? Like I've talked about it now, like talked about it with like JP and like some of our buddies and stuff. Like I eliminate like a lot of words from my vocabulary. Like I don't use the word try, you know what I mean? Like either I commit it or I don't, you know what I mean? Like if you ask me if I could be there, like we were talking about scheduling the podcast, right? I'm like, let me check some things out. We can definitely figure something out
all over.
But like when I pencil the time in, like that's when I'm going to be there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's like one of those things like that's been helpful, that accountability, that I welcome that. Like I want the ball, you know what I mean? I want people to show it's okay to like be a leader and like be happy and like, you know what I mean? Like, but also like put your head down sometimes and like have to get it done. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like now I can't hang out today. I mean, the gym's been crazy, you know what I mean? From starting, like we have, I think like 60 plus students. We've been open for, I think like, what is it? I think it was 5 months, the middle of this month. Yeah. But,
well, that's one of the things. I didn't know you were still working. Like until, I mean, once again, I mean, like we go back to the beginning of like first level assumptions. I mean, until you and I kind of started having a little bit of chat on prepping for this. I mean, I was like, well, what?
A lot of people don't. Yeah.
I mean, it's just a stupid assumption is all it is, you know, but like, I mean, that's because you see how much energy and time, and I talked about this with both Famika and Rodrigo, how much energy and time goes into running a gym. I mean, it isn't just I'm going to show up whenever I want. I mean, you're committed. Yeah. You know? But
aside from like my family, like they fuel me, you know what I mean? Like there's days where I don't sleep very much. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, that's typically the variable.
Especially like the first 2 months, like I would say the month before we opened and then the month after, I called it the 4:30 rule. So like, I'm not a great sleeper anyway, especially when I got a lot to do. So like, and I'm not really good at going back to sleep. Like I don't have insomnia, but I'll like wake up at 2:30 and like be up for a half hour. Yeah. My wife is like, what were you doing up?
Dude, I'm in your boat, man.
You know, but like I had this rule with that. If I woke up after 4:30, those 2 months, I was doing something, period. Like there's not, you know what I mean? Like don't complain about it. Yeah. This is, again,
healthy way
this
to
is
look
what
at
you
it.
wanted. That tempo of life and that balance to be like, I'm on red line right now. Yeah. I know I can't do this forever, but like that weight cutting mode, you know what I mean? Like that, like I got to put the foot down for a little bit here and like really grind it out. Everybody, you know, you look tired. Have you lost weight? How do you lose weight? Open a jiu-jitsu gym and forget to eat for 2 days. That's how you lose, 10 pounds. But like
life as an entrepreneur, man.
Again, I wake up like every morning, like happy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like we were talking about like morning class. If I'm not happy when I wake up, those Tuesday, Thursday mornings, like as soon as I get, as soon as we bow and it's pretty much like it's 2:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, man. You're back in your element.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I definitely wanted to focus on, especially when people come on that are gym owners, is because I don't think, I shouldn't say that, maybe it was just me, but I know for me, like I just materially misunderstood how much energy goes into running a gym, especially a successful gym, one that you've got a regimented program and one that you've got something that goes beyond just the instructor themselves, something that has a culture, as you've pointed out before. Mm-hmm. If you could fast forward a decade, and maybe it's not a decade, maybe it's half of a decade. I mean, everybody kind of puts these sort of arbitrary numbers on these, but long term, where do you see your academy?
I have goals. You know what I mean? Like I for sure have goals. You know what I mean? Like I want to develop athletes. You know what I mean? Like I said, like I want to, like, the city that I live in needs this. There's literally like, there's one 24-hour fitness that's like 1,200 square feet. And I don't want a foot traffic gym.
An actual 24-hour fitness?
Or whatever it is. Anytime
it just happens to be open.
Whatever it is. But okay. It's not cheap. Also, but like, that's all there is in town. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like, for me, I'm like, I want to teach people, I want to give people the skill of jiu-jitsu, but I also want people to have like healthy families. Yeah. Like, so that's like, we just added fitness classes. So during every kid's class, there's a fitness class, that we have a fitness program, and with the fitness program, we have 1 day of jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So like, like the women that like, maybe like I'm out of shape and I want to get in shape and I want to learn some self-defense. Okay, here's 3 days that you can do some, like, it's not dangerous. It's not CrossFit. You know what I mean? It's like band assisted plyometrics, box jumps, kettlebells. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then on top of that, you know what I mean? You get to go to Wednesday women's only class.
That's cool.
You know what I mean?
Who teaches the Wednesday class?
The women's only is Daisy.
It's Daisy.
So, yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
Daisy, you know what I mean? She helps lead that. And then
that's, I mean, like, talk about somebody that's literally, kind of been at the top of the game. You would never know it.
Just wait, wait, man. I can't wait. I've told Rodrigo the same thing. You know what I mean? Like a couple years ago, before, like, everything started to really like take off for him. Like, because even for me, like, honestly, like when I started jiu-jitsu, like, I was budgeting money to do it. Like, a part of the reason I couldn't necessarily do it, I didn't think I could afford it. I was like, okay, well, if I stop like going out to eat, because like now I'm doing jiu-jitsu and stuff, like I asked my wife, like I was like, I don't think we can afford this. You know what I mean? Like, and now it's like become my life. You know what I mean? It's become something like I get to give back to now. You know what I mean? Like in 7 years. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Flash. You know what I mean? Like that. And before I was 32, I never like made $1 off any grappling. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I never like did private lessons or anything. For 27 years, all I did was learn. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's it. Yeah. Learn how to coach, learn how to teach, learn how to instruct, learn the techniques. You know what I mean? Like
learn how to grind too. I mean,
crush my body. Yeah.
I mean, even those, you've come up in a culture of it, and like, it's easy to say, well, Anthony's been training for 7 years. No, you haven't. You've been training since you were 5 years old, man. I mean, like, you've experienced it for all of your life, and you bring all of those experiences to all of your students. Yeah. But anyway, back to the women's class.
No, but but like we were talking about, I think a little bit before the podcast, like it's like this whole thing has been like, I think that's like one of the things that's like the most special, like to me, is like, it's kind of like, a culmination of like all my little stupid skill sets of all the little rabbit holes I've gone down in my life. You know what I mean? And like,
it's special.
I get to put it into like this thing that's like so much bigger than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so like I said,
I love that.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
My goal, I'm not like, again, I'm not calling shots, but like my goal for Joao, like he's disciplined, right? Like he does everything. He has the intangibles. Like he does everything right. You know what I mean? He makes the right decisions. He's focused.
Yeah.
My goal is to make him like Galvao. Like and Formiga's another one. Like I give Formiga and Andre Galvao so much credit because of the fact, like this is things people don't really talk about. Like one of the things I really learned was like energy management as a competitor, right? Like you can't yell for your teammates the whole day if you want to perform well.
Yeah.
You might perform well, but it's not going to be your best if you do that.
Yeah.
I promise you. You know what I mean? If you win on that, cool. You know what I mean? But like the most respected thing that you can say like to another coach, like Formiga goes and wins a world championship and then coaches world champions in the same day.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how much energy that takes out? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like same thing with Andre. You know what I mean? Like he would go win all these world championships and then coach all those black belt world champions.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like think about that.
Yeah.
So when you think about like the greatest of all time and stuff, same thing with like, look at all those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those are the guys that like inspire me that I can do more.
That's a big stage too. And to be honest, I hadn't thought about it like that. I have thought about how much energy goes into an event like that as a coach.
Yeah.
You know, you probably have your family there, you know, you're worrying about making sure that they get fed. You've got little kids running around. I mean, it's a tough day in general. You've got your own competition and you've got your students. So like if you were to magnify that at that level, at the Masters or at the world level.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first time I've really thought of it like that.
But even if you get to like a percentage of that,
yeah,
you're still changing lives.
Yeah.
You're still doing the thing. You know what I mean? You're still doing it. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, not everybody's Andre or Formiga. You know what I mean? Not everybody, but like,
even you see that in Joao.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, absolutely.
That's cool.
Like, I know he's not going to be.
I wonder if I hope Cronce realizes that, man. I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
I know he's not going to be with, not necessarily like, he's not going to be quote unquote under my wing forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, my goal isn't to have him under my wing forever. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't that be kind of selfish of me?
Yeah.
Like, look at Rodrigo and Formiga.
Yeah.
Right? 2 years. Do you think Formiga would want to keep him there?
Yeah, right.
Come on.
I mean, clearly,
Rodrigo's amazing.
Yeah, dude. And
you know what I mean?
He had that goal. You know, he had places that he wanted to go as well, and the way that they both sort of work interchangeably. And Formiga made it clear too. I mean, he had, I don't want to call it a speech, but I mean, when Rodrigo opened up, I mean, he told everybody like, look, don't think about this as. Don't worry about it. Like, don't even put yourself in the middle of it. I mean, we come and go freely. We're one team.
But again, he's a coach's coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's
100%.
a coach's coach. And that's what you want to be. Like, when you ride the wave, you pull the guy behind you.
That's
you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you can't forget about that. That's the martial art part. You know what I mean? Like, that's the part of the belts. That's the part of, you know what I mean? Like, that to me, like, that's what I didn't necessarily like. I learned discipline through like, wanting to be competitive, you know what I mean? But like I've never did like a pure martial art, you know what I mean? But like, I'm a pretty like self-reflective, looking at myself in the mirror type of guy when I got into the martial arts and like saw how I could use that as a tool. Like how many black belts do you have? I don't even know. Like you do a whole bunch of martial arts, right?
I one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But like you do like, I mean, even like I have one of my students that's a white belt has like, I think he said 5 or 6.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Dang,
but like,
it's crazy.
Like the amount of lessons you just learn from the martial art part of it, not even if it's necessary, like what's the best one for, they still all teach you something.
Dude, the life skills.
Like why push people down? You know what I mean? Like why, like, does it look goofy sometimes? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Like
compare all day long.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, do your thing.
Yeah.
Enjoy your space.
100%.
There's plenty of space out there for other people.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. We've talked a lot about Formiga, Tattoos in Town, obviously right now. I mean, talking about Double Five for a minute. I mean, you're a part of the Double Five affiliation. I mean, you fly the flag up in Cronce with Eclipse. What does the Double Five affiliation mean to you?
And
I'm not trying to tug it.
It's dusty in here. It's dusty in here. No, but like, I mean, kind of like coming back to it, like I've been a part of a lot. I've been blessed to like be in rooms and be with a lot of teams and see, just not even be a part of them, but like just take it all in and again, be that sponge. And like, there's something special that we do, like that's just happened, like out of kind of nowhere, that like you can't find it anywhere else. Again, like you just don't know until you like spend time somewhere else. And like I've been a part of like amazing teams, of course. Like I have so many friends in like the places I used to train, like of course, but like that, like everybody there, it's hard to explain. It's like everybody's, even the people that aren't competitors, we're all competitive in the room. We all are there for the same reason. You know what I mean? Like everyone's hyper competitive, but nobody's comparing themselves to other people there. You know what I mean? There's never that real abrasiveness of like it becoming like toxicity in the room. You know what I mean? Like it turns into like a cat fight inside the room. Cause I'm sure you've been in other gyms and you've seen things get out of hand.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that there aren't tempers that fly every once in a while and feelings that get hurt.
But like natural. It'd be crazy if it didn't.
Then you're not probably, honestly, then you're probably not training hard enough. You know, if you're trying to be like, get really good, like, you know what I mean? Like have a pedigree, like you're probably not training hard enough. Right. But like at the same time, you can squash it there and like still be teammates. You know what I mean? Even people that you don't necessarily agree with off the mats, to respect their space, to be like, I don't really want to hear it, but like, I'm not going to think differently about this person. You know what I mean? Like you don't have, that's the amazing thing about jiu-jitsu in itself. Right. But like we have just like a magnified version of that.
The transfer of knowledge up and down. You know, like that's one of the things that I think when I moved from Florida, my biggest fear was that I wasn't going to be able to replace the team that I had, you know, because I had such a good group, and it took me a little while to find my place, you know. So to your point, like, of course, I've had it's like I've had the blessings of being in a really good environment before too, but Double Five is unique and special. And that is one of the things that I can't really put my finger on it as well. But like even today, I was training with a really good purple belt, and, you know, hierarchically is, you know, he's junior to me, you know, but man, he ran me up and down, and we had a productive conversation afterwards. Of like I had to have the humility to ask, like, dude, where are you finding these holes at, you know? And then he had to have the humility to respond without just saying like, dude, just freaking figure it out, you know, worry about it on your own. And same thing with some of the black belts, to take time out of their day, that they have careers and they have professions and families and whatnot, to sit back after class for an hour, you know, literally, you know, after we've been rolling around for an hour and a half, and say, you know, like, let me help you clean up a couple things that materially changed the way that I would roll the next day. I mean, dude, that's unique. You know,
it really is. And it's like, it's like one of those things, like I've always wanted, like I've heard it from me. Like, again, I didn't know it until I like walked in it. It was literally just like, just luck. Again, like how the heck did I get here?
I know how I got there, man. I just happened to stumble upon a Toys for Tots drive that JV put on, dude. You know?
But it's just like it's just like one of those things where it's like, it sometimes it's just like not explainable. You know what I mean? It just like, and again, how fast it can all happen if you get on the path with like the right people. It's like, it's amazing the amount of work that can be done when you all march in the same direction.
Yeah, man. It's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like we're all going in the same direction. We're not all necessarily even focused on the same things, but like the leaders of the, like we march in the same direction. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, even we've talked about, like, we're doing a lot of like, quote unquote, standardizing. We're going to start like really getting the team atmosphere together of like, you know, when Double Five's had a competition type stuff, you know what I mean? And like, the people that are going to have a problem with it are the people, and it's not crazy, but the people, like, the team comes first in a way, you know what I mean? Like, that's what helps build us all up. So if you don't elevate that, you only elevate yourself, like, you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? So if you have a problem with the quote unquote standardization of a couple things, like, you don't get the point of the team. It's nothing. It's a little bit of discipline. You know what I mean?
I mean, I've mentioned this, and this is going to risk being repetitive, but I do think it's important, because it was kind of this turning point for me, is that moment when I realized, like, this ecosystem, you know, and for the longest time, not on purpose and not in a malicious way, but I just saw things so individually, you know, and it's easy to, and unless you have somebody that can kind of like pull you off of that, then it's hard to make that adjustment. But once I realized that there was something going on that's just much bigger than me, man, I had kind of a light bulb moment. Yeah. And I enjoy it so much more as a result. You know, it's more fulfilling. It's more enriching, you know. Can people come and visit you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Again,
Crum.
Everyone is welcome. Come.
Message one to every white belt.
Come get some. No, I'm kidding. No, it's like
crazy.
It's funny because like even people come in and like we had some people join the gym. They're like, I didn't know this was a competition gym. Like we've been open for three months, and I'm like, it's funny you should mention because nobody here has competed, and I've told nobody how to train.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Just
I've told nobody how to train. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, don't sit out because you're tired, because that's when you learn your jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, everyone's welcome.
Yeah.
And we understand you got to meet them where they're at. Not everybody's going to be the same coming in physically. It's one of the most dangerous thing about white belts. I've always said, you can get a Division I wrestler or a person that doesn't know how to forward roll. You can get either or. Yeah. You can get a white belt that could be a blue belt in like 6.
Or it kind of is.
It like basically is, exactly. Right? Or like, you know, you could get somebody that's like literally never played a sport before, and everybody can work together. Yeah. That's one of my favorite thing about our gym. I can put like a pretty new white belt with like one of my kids in an open mat, and I can trust both of them will be okay at the end of it.
To be able to temper themselves. And
it's a little different. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like how to roll with even like a smaller person and like both get something out of it.
Dude, I'm a big guy, and I've had to, you know, learn that skill. Yeah. And that's what it is. It's a skill. It's a, you know, a little bit of humility and then also some technique and an opportunity to do different things. But you're a big guy. I mean, you've had to, you know, probably do the same thing.
I can pick up 400 pounds and make it feel light, but I can pick up 5 pounds and make it feel heavy. Yeah. It's just a matter of how you pick it up. You know what I mean? Like, do you know how to work right?
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean?
Good way. I mean, you can find efficiency in every role. Then like, I think that's when corners start being turned.
That was actually one of my things when we got off of it with the colored belts is come with intent. You know what I mean? Like white belts figured it out, but like especially that blue belt where you're like, white belt's short, so don't get excited when you get your blue belt. White belt was actually my shortest belt. You know what I mean? But then like, I mean, I was a brown belt for I think like 2.5, 3 years, something like that. I don't even know what it was, to be honest. Like I've looked at it before, but I don't like memorize it. But train with intent. You know what I mean? Like think about what you're doing. Don't just grip it and rip it. Don't just go. You know what I mean? Like test your boundaries of conditioning and stuff, but like don't just like go in there just not focusing on things.
I was having that conversation today with somebody as well. One of the first privates I did with Formiga, that was exactly what he said too. And it was like, look, you need to come up with a game plan. It doesn't have to be the game plan you stick with forever. It doesn't have to be even the game plan that's that way at the end of the week. But like before we start figuring out what techniques are right for you, let's just define what is your game. That way you can start there. Yeah. You know, you've got intent. You've got a place to begin, you know.
I have a hard time though.
Some of the best advice I ever got.
I have a hard time with that though, because like you're saying competition or not competition. Last year competing so much, like I literally like lost my guard.
Really?
I feel like I like lost my guard. And like for me, it used to be like, man, you have a good guard. Because ever since I won, or like I went to Master Worlds, Rodrigo, he's like, I'm not going to be there, but I have one thing to tell you. Don't pull. I took some expletives out of that, but he said, do not pull. You get on top, you're going to win every single fight. Yeah. Period. And so like, it's kind of been my strategy, right? But then like so much competing last year of that sharpening that you're talking about, you start to get dullness in other parts of the blade. Good point, you know what I mean? Like you focus. Again. So it's like, man, I came back and I was like, after competing, I'm like, I'm just going to play a little bit. I like get on bottom. I'm like, I forgot everything. Yeah. It came back, but I was like, I've been training every day. How is this? Yeah. I was so focused on one thing. Like I wasn't necessarily, you know what I mean? Like sharpening the whole blade.
Once again, the journey that never ends, man. The minute you think you got it figured out, then all of a sudden, you know, jiu-jitsu's got a way of giving you a little wake-up call.
It's the balance, right?
It's the balance.
Again, it's the balance.
It's the dichotomy. Well, look, man, we could probably go on for another hour. I think we're a little over the 2-hour mark at this point, but where do people find you, man? Social media, whatever it is that you want them to find you at. What's the best way?
Yeah, again, you guys, and anybody's, you know, everybody's always welcome in Cronce, Eclipse Jiu-Jitsu and Grappling Academy. Just reach out to our Instagram or our Facebook page. I'm pretty active on there. So
cool.
Just reach out if you want to follow me, get any little tips. I've been trying to get more.
I watch your workout videos.
I'm trying to get better, honestly, about like some of the technique stuff. Like I have a way, like I'm still working through it. You know what I mean? I'm doing that house cleaning we were talking about right now of like really like streamlining some things, like how to get some more like good technique out there, especially like some like wrestling based stuff and everything. Just, it's not necessarily the priority right now. I've got so many irons in the fire, you know, but like, man. I'm trying to, it'll come, you know what I mean? But yeah, so Cronce_JJ on Instagram.
Cool. Cronce_JJ.
Yep.
Okay.
And then, I mean, we're going to be out there. You'll see us, you know what I mean? For sure. I'm super excited for the future. You know, I'm super blessed, you know.
It's awesome, man. Any further closing thoughts?
No, I'll just thank you, man. It's been awesome. It's been fun to like not have the 1 minute conversation 50 times.
I know,
you know
man.
what I mean?
That's real, dude. That's real.
Yeah,
that's real. People are gonna go away from that intro thinking that like you never form relationships in jiu-jitsu, which is absolutely not the case. But it is hard sometimes to break through that.
But there's so much to learn from so many people, even just the technique.
I know. Plus, you're training. I mean? You know, you're training.
Yeah, and like me anymore. I don't have time to. I don't like. I'm in and out anymore.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I've had that mode too. I'm
literally doing stuff on the mats. Like I get there if like living in Crum, I'm a little bit far away from the gym. So I'll like go an hour and a half early if I'm already in town doing other stuff and go work on the mats with my laptop for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't have time to spare. You know what I mean? But again, it's everything I've ever asked for. So I don't ever complain about it. You know what I mean? Like, of course, there's long days, but it'll make it all worth it.
That's awesome. Well, I got to tell you, man, it's been fun watching you on this journey. I mean, you were one of the first people that I met when I joined Island Village, 5 Island Village in the first place. And so seeing you kind of turn these corners, watching your family grow up, watching your family be on the mats with you the whole time. I mean, it's a great example. And we'll all have our eyes peeled for Daisy and for Joao. I mean, I agree with you, man. Probably some of the bright shining stars in the 5 team and the community as a whole, man. So
I don't think you'll have to look very far.
That's awesome.
Or very hard, very soon.
I agree.
You know,
I don't think you will. For everybody else that's out there, thanks again for sticking with me. I hope that this is a good supplement to your longevity in jiu-jitsu. And until next time, we are out.